Going live. Hello, and welcome to the Daily Motor Best of the Year Awards 2022.
Charlie's happy that he has his little switch
Yeah,
panel
we
back.
got the sound effects. Let's get some.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
We haven't had sound effects since February.
Yeah, we've been having to make do.
Why don't you buy one of those for the garage? How much is that?
More than you can afford, pal.
Ferrari.
The best thing is we haven't been here in a year and all your sound effects are still saved.
Yeah, that's
great.
This shows we should give a quick shout out to Grove Studios, the podcast studio here in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Self-service and no punk rock bands practicing tonight or anything. So we've got the place to ourselves.
We had that last year.
We had some tunes going on in the background last year.
Oh, this looks okay.
Yeah. It's 1080p. I think we got a solid connection. I think we're ready to talk about some cars.
Sounds
but
good.
We're a little bit early, so as people are coming in, Chris has graced us with some Christmas presents.
Yes.
Christmas presents. C-H-R-I-S miss presents.
Well, you guys bring excitement to my life all year, so here's a little bit in return.
Thank you
presents.
so much. Mm-hmm. I will. We're gonna open them right here. Open them live. Let's see what we got. This has
Little trucks.
yeah, cute little green trucks. It's a long bed. I like the
To
proportions
Christopher
there.
From Christopher.
Chris's is plaid, like a Tesla.
Oh, Chris, did you see my angry journalist Santas on here? Mad
Why are they journalists? Just simply because they're mad.
because they're angry about CarPlay not working. Yeah. Oh, you got me a box.
Do some present ASMR here.
Yeah.
Oh. Ooh, that's good, Chris.
This is what the people came to see.
Hopefully you can open that. I didn't bring scissors.
What we got here. Yeah, none of us are like utility knife sort of people.
And usually I do actually have a knife attached to my garage keys, but I didn't bring those.
I think I'll be able to get this off.
Is this a car part?
No.
It's a part of a car. All right, Chris was pretty excited to give this to me, so I'm excited to open it. Ooh.
Wait a second.
It's a Peggy.
Not only is it
That's
a
pretty
Chrysler Town and Country, it is a pimped out Chrysler
Yes,
Town and
this
Country.
is a very it's a dub. It's a good old dub
Read
city.
the back, Chris, into the mic. Read the back.
All right, so it's a Volvo 850R wagon. And the back says, this ornament is worth $1 million YouTube dollars.
Aww.
Nice.
Chris, these are so
little
thoughtful.
inside joke.
Wow. Thank you so
Cool,
much.
man.
You got a sound system in the
You're
back. That's what I should do
Merry
to
Christmas.
my
Merry
van
Christmas.
right there. Get the subs going.
Yeah, that was like the only one of those on eBay.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So
they're
you're
very,
saying I have a
very-
collectible.
Yes, they're very hard to find.
Wow,
They didn't
thank
make
you.
very many. You're welcome.
Yeah, I can't imagine they did.
Jada, the company that made that, is also
Mm-hmm.
the only company that's ever done a Town and Country.
Wow.
And they put Brembos on there. Very nice.
Hello, hello, hello.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, now we have a car.
I was gonna say, put
decoration
that out
here.
front for the set.
Yeah,
There we go.
this
That's
front.
proper. You got that.
It's a little
Front
dusty,
and
but I
center.
figured that was okay because we just.
Yeah. No,
This
thank
has
you.
Isn't
got
that-
some weight
isn't
to
that
it.
Mhm,
sick?
That's a
Yeah,
nice.
this is
That's a
hefty.
nice diecast.
It actually showed
Thanks,
up in
man.
person, and I was like, "Dang, this is a lot nicer than I expected."
Build quality is on par with the real thing, I think.
Weighs just as much as a real one.
Yeah.
7 o'clock. Welcome everyone tuning in. Daily Motor Best of the Year. Thanks to Chris for the kind Christmas gifts.
You're welcome.
We are going to be looking at the chat a little bit throughout today, but it's not going to be the main thing. This isn't going to be.
It's a train.
There is a train. Got something going back there. One of you has audio going.
Oh, shit.
So we might look at a few chats, but it's not like a live drive. We're not going to be hardcore monitoring, but we
we
will
have to read this one.
We
Cameron
will
says,
tune in a little bit.
Where's the Raisin brand? This sucks. He's referring to the All brand that we usually have in the podcast studio.
Yeah, Kellogg didn't want to sponsor this one. We should have hit him up. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in. We see you there, Sunjib and Themios and all our OGs. I see William up there in the chat. Kirk, if you're still in. Let's without further ado, let's dig right in. So if any of you are new to this, I know we've been gaining a few subs here and there throughout the years. This is our of the Year awards, and we do it in a fun way. We do it NCAA March Madness bracket style. So as you'll see in a minute, we've got 64 of the cars that we've driven throughout late 2021 and pretty much all of 2022 since the last award show. And we're going to go through them and figure out a best car. So a lot of outlets, they'll get cars together and drive them. They'll have some sort of criteria on what makes their car of the year, if you will. But here at Daily Motor, we like to do a little different, do it live. And 2 years ago, we got Lexus LC500, something that we didn't necessarily expect.
We have no idea what's going to win.
Yeah.
It could be something that we don't even like.
Last year, Honda Civic won, little predictable, but BMW X5 was second, and I don't think that was expected. I
There's
think
some surprises.
Nobody
Yeah.
would have guessed that.
Right.
Because it's bracket style, there's some wild cards.
Right, might have some interesting conversations. And then to kind of break it up a little bit, we have some other kind of best of the year awards that we'll go through and award as well. So without any further ado, let's jump on in.
Are there any worst of the year awards?
Worse, I decided not to do that one.
Okay.
Be a little bit kinder this
Keep it
year.
happy.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't driven a Subaru Ascent in a while, so wouldn't have anything to give the award to.
Yeah, the nice way to put it is biggest surprises, but I kept biggest surprises a positive thing this year. I didn't want Polaris Slingshot to be mentioned on there. So as you can see, for the bracket style, we drove them, we remembered them, we liked them, we loved them, we want them, and the best. We will go through there, and we have 4 quadrants, and this year I tried to kind of make the quadrants all a little bit in the same idea. So in the top left, we have essentially compact crossovers. I mean, compact mid-size crossovers, there's so much in that marketplace, so those are kind of there. You've got larger and or utility vehicles down in the lower left that'll be competing against each other. Over on the top right, we've got electric/commuter-ish cars, the type of things that you'd want to drive daily, use for efficiency, that sort of deal. And then bottom right, we have our performance mobiles. So let's get into it. First off, and I also did try to bracket them somewhat the way that like a top seed and a bottom seed would go against each other. So as we see first, right off the bat, Mazda CX-5, Nissan Rogue. Throughout this tonight, we're going to be given little thoughts. There will be a little bit more in this first round, and then we'll kind of speed through them a little bit more after that. But any little thoughts we have on them, the CX-5, one of our favorites. I mean, we always love it. Every time we drive it, we've recommended it to a lot of different people. Although, Chris, would you like to give the update today on our CX-5 recommendations?
Yeah, so one of my good friends bought a CX-5 off of my recommendation just about a year ago. And 3 days ago, it blew up. But luckily she had not only the factory warranty, it's a 2019, so it's still under the 5-year, 60,000 powertrain warranty, and also CPO. So she's getting a new cylinder head or motor or whatever they have to do to replace on her car. And in the meantime, Mazda gave her a 2023 GTR.
We disconnected there for a quick second.
Oh no!
I think we're back. Yeah, I think we're back, everyone. I just saw a little bit of red, saw disconnecting, but connections should be strong now.
Did everybody hear my story?
Hopefully they heard your story, but we did want to at least. Yeah, I don't know where that cut out. Sorry, folks, that one wasn't us, but that was all of your individual internets dropping at the same time.
If you had to recommend a car, though, still, would you recommend CX-5?
It'd be a
CX-5.
Yep.
Emily just texted me. She said, "We didn't hear your story, and Charlie is so echoey."
Oh, so echoey, really?
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
She said the audio is bad.
The audio is bad. All right. Echo, yeah.
Yep, there you go. Another Oh, better. She said better.
Okay. Maybe if we turn the mic down a little bit. Check.
Are you listening, Chris? Mm-hmm. Kirk says everyone is echoing.
Everyone is echoing. Okay.
So we should stop talking like this.
We need to just whisper into the mics. Let us know, everyone, if it does sound a little bit better.
Sounds a little bit better.
Let
We
me
sound like robots.
try that. See
We
if
sound like robots. Yeah.
see if that sounds any better.
Emily says it's fine now.
All right.
Fine now. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. Quality control out there.
I know. Okay.
Yes, a bit better. Okay,
Let
yeah.
me
if anything,
can I retell?
yeah.
what
Retell
happened?
your story. If anything weird happens during the stream, just let us know. This
Yeah,
isn't
keep
our
commenting.
usual streaming situation. Go for it.
So, anyways, yeah, Mazda CX-5 versus Nissan Rogue. as Charlie was saying earlier, Mazda CX-5 is always one of our favorites. Therefore, we recommend it to a number of people, a number of our friends. About a year ago, one of my friends bought, off of my recommendation, a 2019 certified pre-owned Mazda CX-5 Grand Touring. And of course, now she's owned it for about a year. She loves it. But 3 days ago, it blew up. The cylinder head cracked and leaked all over the belly of her car, all over her driveway, everything. And luckily, CPO warranty, factory powertrain, covered everything. They put her in a new CX-5 loaner car. And, the rest is history. But I don't know. Does that hinder our choice at all?
That's one data point. We'd still
That's a
recommend the
data point.
CX-5.
I
Yeah.
know. We do love the CX-5.
The Nissan Rogue was kind of fun with that 3-cylinder, but not enough to pick it over the Mazda.
I agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Next, Nissan kicks Subaru Forester. Now, I've actually always been kind of a fan of the Forester. It's cheaper than a lot of the other Subaru models. It's a little simpler, a little bit more fun to drive. I don't like the turbocharged Subarus outside of the WRX, so I actually prefer the NA 2.5, even though it's slow. And we drove the Wilderness version of the Forester. Have you gotten that yet, Chris?
I liked the Wilderness. I drove it off-road,
Okay.
and then I saw Chris in it a few weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would
I'd say Forester.
Yeah, Kicks is a fine little car, but I'd pick the Forester.
I'd have the Kicks, but I'm being outvoted. So.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun in the Kicks. I thought it was, for its segment, I thought it was fun. The only thing that kind of held it back for me was the CVT. Obviously, I'm not a fan of CVTs, but it was very chuckable, and also the Bose sound system, definitely best in class.
Yeah, with the
With
little
the
speakers right by your
headrest
head there. The
speakers.
headrest, yeah.
I
My
just-
only problem with the Kicks, sorry, Chris, is
okay.
the Sentra is so much better
Yeah.
for the same
and
price.
See, I haven't driven a Sentra, so
Volvo XC60 and Acura RDX.
that's going to be the XC60 for me.
That's going to be the XC60 as well. The RDX manages to be so exciting on paper and how it looks and everything, and then you drive it, and it just kind of goes out of your brain immediately afterward.
Yeah, the RDX is fun to drive also in like high-speed scenarios. The all-wheel drive is pretty impressive. But overall, just as a daily driver, had to live with it. XC60 all the way. Sound
The new
system.
plug-in hybrid,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, Volvo's new
Yeah.
T8, the extended range plug-in hybrid, helps a bunch. I will say I could see someone doing the Acura for reliability, but I would pick the Volvo as well.
Mm.
Yeah. BMW X3, Lexus NX.
This is my mother's category.
Yeah, you're
Two
right.
cars
She was
she's
cross-shopping
cross-shopping.
these.
She still is.
And which one is she going for now?
The X3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This one's a little tough. You got a lot of different powertrain choices in both. You've got no longer can get a hybrid with the BMW, but you can get a very, very fast version if you want. And the NX is entirely redesigned, is quite good, very quiet. It does have the steering wheel controls that you don't like, that you kind of have to fondle a little bit before you
No.
actually get to choose your cruise control setting.
Not about button foreplay.
Chris is voting it off the island
Yeah.
specifically because of that.
Pretty much.
I would be tempted to choose the Lexus just because of how quiet and nice that car is to be in. But the BMW X3 really is a fun car to drive, even with its base 4-cylinder powertrain.
Yeah.
I also think the X3 M40i is maybe one of the perfect daily drivers out there.
The only thing I will again point out about the BMW, though, that someone commented on actually today, our Presser didn't even have adaptive cruise control.
It didn't have anything.
Yeah.
The M40i.
Yeah.
It had
It's like,
nothing.
come on,
It was a base
BMW.
model, yeah.
So you guys are going X3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because of the M40i. I don't like the X3M. But
Yeah, that's
the
fair.
M40i is perfect.
Yeah, I had an X3M, and it grew on me the more I drove it. It was like very, very stiff and brutal at
it was-
first.
yeah.
And then I loved it.
It's fun to
Mm.
drive
It
fast.
was
but that's
a little bit of a
kinda
masochistic experience.
where it ends.
Yeah, well, when
So-
you like grabbing things by the scruff of their neck and
Yeah.
just wringing them out.
Yeah.
Volvo XC40, Toyota Venza. The Venza is okay.
We're not allowed to joke about it being
so
for
is the
old people.
XC40. They're both just okay.
I would pick the Volvo.
I'd pick the Volvo too, but I agree that it's... Well, you know what, though? The Recharge is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
The XC40 Recharge is fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can get it with colored carpet.
I'd say XC42, but I will say the Venza, I think, is one of Toyota's nicer driving
It's cozy.
hybrids. It's a little bit tighter than the Highlander. It drives nicer than the RAV4.
Mhm.
It's a nice product.
Yeah.
The Venza's like as close as you can get to a Lexus without buying a Lexus.
Yeah, and it has that electrochromic roof, which is a
Yeah, it's weird that you
$5,000
only
option,
get
everything
that
else.
on the Venza and like nothing else.
Yeah,
Hyundai Tucson, Kia Sportage. Now you haven't driven the Sportage yet.
Neither have I.
Neither of you.
Nice.
So think of the Tucson, but close your eyes and just pretend it's a Kia badge.
Which one has a volume knob?
The Kia.
Okay, so I'd have the Kia.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have the Kia as well because it's got lots of cool colors.
I'll default to your guys.
Jeep Grand Cherokee or Mazda CX-50. I put these two together because
this is tough.
they're the Mazda's trying to go a little bit more rugged with the CX-50, trying to push it up market, and Jeep's obviously trying to push the Grand Cherokee up market. I really enjoyed the Grand Cherokee that I took up north, but then it didn't start.
I was gonna say so the one I remember the most is the Grand Cherokee because I like this new vibe that Jeep is going for. It's kind of like Land Rover-ish and like kind of just big and heavy, and you sit up high, and it drives more like an SUV than it does a car. A lot of SUVs in that class, they're trying really hard to be sporty. We even found that with the Genesis GV80, it's a little bit
Should be
sporty
cushier.
for me. And the Jeep Grand Cherokee just isn't. It's cumbersome, and it's big and luxurious, and it's like
They
a
have the
big palace.
4xe now too.
Yes, and that.
Which is very nice to have.
And the CX-50, the steering's too heavy. So
Yeah, I didn't love the CX-50.
I think it looks cool, but
I'd choose the CX-5 over the CX-50. After thinking about it, mulling it over a little bit, I love the way the CX-50 looks. And it is a great car. It's nice to have a little bit more space inside, a little bit bigger than the CX-5. But the Grand Cherokee, with some of the improvements they've made, the 4xe. For
You liked that
2022,
4xe,
that's
didn't
a nice
you?
car, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I've driven the 4xe.
No, we haven't.
I've just driven the V6 car.
Toyota RAV4 versus Porsche Macan. Now, this one was a little bit of a catch-all category, but I don't love the RAV4, so I'm going to go Macan.
Yeah.
I loved that Macan.
Right.
I had so much fun in that car.
It's one of the best SUVs we've ever
It's the
driven.
best handling SUV I've driven. Yeah.
I will say the RAV4 looks pretty good with its facelift, that RAV4 Prime we had, but it was $51,000. You could have a Macan.
Yeah. Have CPO Macan.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Cruising through these.
Porsche Macan.
Mackin.
Ford Maverick versus Infiniti QX60. Now, Chris and I have driven a lot of QX60 this year. We've probably spent combined 25 hours in it.
I have spent so much time. Yeah, I know. I could probably you could blindfold me and throw me in a QX60, and I'd immediately know I was in a QX60.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did you grow to love it at all?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'd be taking the Maverick because I did take the Maverick.
Yeah, that's right. QX60's not bad. It's
I
just
think the QX60 is a nice secondhand buy for $30,000, but a
Yeah.
Ford Maverick is a nice first-hand buy for $30,000.
Yep.
So
Yeah, Maverick.
Agreed. Hyundai Palisade, Mercedes GLE.
Oh God, Charlie's gonna vote Palisade. We know.
I
that.
am going to vote Palisade. I don't care for the GLE. It was better. The GLE 53 we had was better than I expected.
it has the same power to weight ratio as a Miata, though.
What does?
The GLA 53 AMG.
It doesn't mean it's as fun as a Miata.
I'd say Palisade also.
We
The
should have
Palisade's a good
we should have
product.
drag raced it against your BRZ while we had it.
We should.
That would have been a good race.
I know.
Chris, can you live with us
Yeah.
if we pick Palisade? This new
I just
Palisade
really-
XRT. It's
I
cool.
liked the-
The
yeah.
calligraphy we drove was like, ooh, yeah. And it was
I don't
probably
think I
still
drove the
cheaper than the GLE.
calligraphy.
Didn't we drive one together down to Ohio?
Yeah, but I drove the XRT there, and you drove the calligraphy back.
Oh, well, you got to ride in it, which is even better.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
The headliner is gonna get dingy over time, though.
Just don't fondle it.
Okay.
Also, I mean, the Palisade's it's like refreshed, and the GLE is a little bit old in the tooth now. So
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
certainly.
that's
Plus,
part of it.
Mercedes keeps making all their cars worse by having all the touch controls.
I was
and
just
the
gonna say it's
wheel
got
and
too much
everything.
technology. I was
Yeah.
so overwhelmed, and Charlie forced me to do an infotainment video on it, and it was like 27 minutes long.
Yep.
Oh, this is a good one. I like this one.
This is the only type of content you get at Daily Motor. Rolls-Royce Cullinan, Honda Passport. I would pick the Passport.
Is Jerry in the chat?
Hopefully
Jerry?
Rolls-Royce isn't watching.
Speak now if you're here.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Honda Passport is just kind of very similar to the Honda Ridgeline, and the Cullinan is better.
Actually, yeah, I've been convinced now because I feel like, and we talked about this a little bit already, but I feel like I blocked the Cullinan out of my mind just because it was
you were
so
getting
good.
married
I
also.
was getting married.
Spent a lot of time in that Cullinan. It was fantastic.
I don't want to remember it because it was so amazing, but I know I'll just not have one for pretty much ever.
Yeah.
So I haven't been thinking about it, but you're right, it was quite good. And Chris brings up a good point that we liked the Passport Trail Sport we had, but when you really think about the Passport as an entire model, I'd probably take a Palisade. I mean,
Yeah.
It's cool, but it's not a great value necessarily.
I get a
so.
Ridgeline.
Yeah.
Clear victory there
Yeah.
for the Rolls-Royce Cullinan.
All right, good job, Rolls, making it into the round of 32. Toyota Sienna or Hyundai Santa Fe?
Santa Fe.
I was really impressed by the Santa Fe.
I'm gonna say Sienna just because I think that is one of the best options for a family. That gets insane gas mileage. It's super comfortable. It's a pretty well designed minivan, even though you can't like
Look at it.
take out.
I was going to say, it is
Well,
hideous.
It's probably
It
if we
is
had an ugliest
striking.
car of 2022 award, I think it would be that.
But like as an anti-SUV family
Mm-hmm.
minivan, like
Mm-hmm.
it's peak minivan almost.
I have a friend couple right now, and they are trading in their Equinox to get a minivan because the third child is on their way, and they're going to go with the Odyssey. And we all of us
That's
told
the spirited one.
all of us
Yeah.
told them get the Sienna, but they were watching some YouTube channel that wasn't Daily Motor or the Topher or Topher Drives. It was some like car mommy YouTube channel, and that channel said that there's something about the second row or third row seats that like the headrests make car seat mounting difficult or something like that. There was some definitive reason why the Odyssey was a better choice,
Okay.
and so they're going to go with an Odyssey Elite. Now, if Kirk wants to chime in, he would. He's S tier father. He's got 4 little girls, so he could weigh in on if one of those is better. But
Maybe your friends just wanted to do front-wheel drive burnouts.
that could be. I think they just wanted to hear VTEC as they got going.
I don't know. For me, the Santa Fe was pretty forgettable, and the Sienna, even though I haven't driven one in a while, made a mark.
The Sienna will always remind me of going to that auction and you buying 75 chairs. Because I followed you there in the Sienna.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What I like about the Santa Fe, Odyssey is better for Sienna than Sienna for families. Yeah, there you go. Kirk weighing in. What I liked about the Santa Fe is it's a good size. It's that Ford Edge, Chevy Blazer kind of size that a lot of people are going for. And you can get it in gas, hybrid, or plug-in hybrid, although you shouldn't get the plug-in hybrid because it's too expensive. And it's a ton of buttons. No touch screen of anything like that. So it's a big row of buttons. You took it out to Chicago. You loved it.
Took what to Chicago?
The Santa Fe.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little ugly, but it's still kind of like cool looking.
Was that this year? No, it was last
I think
year.
it was last year.
But we just had a Santa Fe like a month ago.
Yeah, $38,000, and you're getting a fully loaded hybrid Santa Fe.
Yeah, it was
And that's pretty
cozy.
good.
It was a good road trip car for sure.
Yeah. So, sorry, Chris.
Well,
Sienna
whatever
is
it
too
is, it's
ugly.
gonna have to go up against the Cullinan.
Ford
Oh.
Bronco, Lexus GX.
This
And
is
we're
the-
gonna leave this to the Topher.
I was gonna
This
say,
is a
this
tough
is it.
one because I'm torn between 2 lovers, and I would buy both of these in a heartbeat.
I know what I'd pick, and it's for one reason.
I'm gonna have to go Ford Bronco just because that thing was so much fun. It's new,
Manual.
it's manual, and I don't really like the luxury package Lexus GX with the air suspension. I don't like the way it drives as much.
You were hustling that black line one that
Black
we had
one was
though.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love the GX though. The Ford Bronco, it's just so much fun, and it's a breath of fresh air in the off-roader SUV space. And yeah, I think if I didn't buy my Type R last week, there was a 2-door Bronco that popped up.
Eruption Green.
Eruption Green
Manual,
manual
right, yeah.
Sasquatch. I would have gone out and bought that.
Well, and you and I were talking the other night. I think if you had 2 children right now instead of 1, and also if you didn't have the press cars, you were regularly driving your kids, you'd already have a Bronco manual.
Bronco is as fun to drive as my BRZ.
Yeah.
Manual.
You would have had car seats just
Yeah.
permanently mounted in the back, bike rack
Yeah.
on the back of it, and I mean you'd be peak Hoondad.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I got the Topher back road experience in the manual
Firsthand.
Bronco, and it was quite a lot of fun. So
And this is including Bronco Raptor.
Oh yeah, the
Oh,
Raptor.
yeah.
That was a good time.
I didn't like that one as much. I
No?
like the manual,
That's-
4-cylinder manual Bronco.
I would have the manual as well.
The Bronco Raptor didn't give me the fizz the way
Right.
that the Wrangler 392 and even the base manual Bronco gave.
I think Chris was pretty indifferent until we got out to Hollyoaks and he started running it around like it were a side by side.
And I was busy. What was I doing? Why wasn't I there?
I think
why
you're,
weren't you there?
Sean's wedding, I think.
Oh,
or
Sean's wedding.
bachelor party or
Obligations.
something.
Sean, if Sean's
Thanks,
here,
Sean.
it's your fault.
I think the Lexus GX is an if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but it's starting to be broke. I mean, it's
No, but they gave it new infotainment.
The
step in
Lexus
right
GX
direction.
in 2022 is like perfect GX because of the new infotainment and CarPlay. But yeah, I still got to give it to the Bronco.
Toyota Tundra versus GMC Sierra.
The GMC. Yeah.
I
would
didn't
have
drive
the
the
GMC as
Sierra.
well.
You said Super Cruise was pretty awesome. On that.
We haven't
That was
driven
a
the Sierra
Silverado.
either, but we've driven the Chevy, and the Sierra looks better.
We had the Sierra. We had a red one, diesel.
Was it a 1500?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was an inline six.
you're
diesel.
right. You sure you didn't get that earlier this year, Chris?
I don't know. No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Well, we also drove the interior refreshed Chevys, and we know that the GMs would be similar. And I put the GMC on here instead of the Chevy because it looks better.
You had this ZR2, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We didn't have that
Which
one.
you didn't
yeah.
love.
Yeah.
We had the High Country, the Silverado
But-
High Country,
which
and it
was great.
I also
fabulous.
prefer the Sequoia over the Tundra.
Mm-hmm. I didn't like the Tundra much.
Yeah.
It was very orange, but I mean, and it had camo wheel arches.
So if we were voting for most orange car of the year, it would be the
It
Tundra.
would be the Tundra, but unfortunately we're not. So
Yeah.
Sierra.
We're going to take the Sierra on
Alright.
that one. Audi SQ7 and Land Rover Defender.
SQ7 was a big surprise.
Mhm.
I loved my week in that car, and you have it right now. It's sitting outside.
Yep. Yeah, I expected the SQ7 to be kind of snoozy, and I actually really liked it.
That V8 is just phenomenal. Sounds so good.
Always sounds good.
let me. Here, I would pick both, but if I had to go off of if it's a car that I've got to live with, it's the SQ7. But if it's something that is a second car, that V8 two-door Defender was a riot. It was like such a Bond villain, like such a cool, like just a car with a presence, and it gave me the fizz. Probably most than 90% of the vehicles we drove this year.
I will say, if you go to pick up your kids from school in the SQ7, no one's going to care. If you go to pick them up in the Defender 90 V8,
Yes.
everyone's going to think you're the coolest dad.
And that you've just robbed a bank.
Yes. Yes.
This is a tough one for me, too, because I did really enjoy both cars, and the SQ7 probably costs more than the Land Rover.
No, I think the Land Rover was 110 grand.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Yeesh.
and the SQ7's 105.
That's fair. That's 110's a lot for that Land Rover.
The Defender does
Was
have
it
a very
110?
high
Chris, you
cool
remember?
factor.
I think it was.
is
We
maybe
filmed
more.
we filmed that together. That was a fun video.
Yeah. I was a little bit underwhelmed with the exhaust note though. And
That's fair, actually.
I was surprised at how good the SQ7 sounded.
They could have made the They could have made that Defender a little bit raspier. You had to get it. It was similar to the F-Type in the way you really had to rev it out to hear it. Whereas the SQ7 sounds good at low RPMs too.
I would like to go with the Defender for one reason. You can now get the 90, the 110, and the 130.
The 130 looks so weird.
And you can get all those different engine options. You probably can't still get a diesel, but you can get the V8, you can get this, what is it, inline six and everything like that. So
Yeah, inline six. Oh, four-cylinder also.
right. So it's such a unique model lineup, and we as auto enthusiasts need to be encouraging manufacturers to still make cars like that.
It is cool.
I'm sure they had to get a lot of people convinced to let them build a two-door version of that car.
It looks so funny, but it's so awesome.
Yeah.
I think they're actually
All right, Defender.
The V8 is going to be gone after 2023.
So there you go. So it's like we need to reward.
Well, it's not because of price or opinions or anything. It's because the where the engines are built or something. They're like not allowed to build V8s anymore. Something
Move somewhere else.
European emissions thing.
So as much as I actually really do love the SQ7 as well, I'm gonna go Defender.
Yeah, keep giving us the V8 in America.
There you go.
Land Rover. We don't
BMW
care.
iX or Ford F-150 Lightning.
This is a tough one because these are my two favorite electric vehicles of the year.
Wow. I loved the Lightning. I really did. I also loved the iX. But I think the iX is a little bit more of like, hey, look what we can do when we charge $100,000. Whereas the Lightning it's an evolution for the auto industry as we know it.
Which of these can you buy currently? Can you buy? I know you can't buy a Lightning. Can you buy an iX? Because I am not sure.
I think you can buy a Lightning if you pay a lot of money.
Okay, if you pay $30,000 over sticker, you can have a Lightning. Or if you go and bring a trailer and buy one for $125,000. Can you
They're all
buy an
coming
iX? I don't- Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they're all coming down. They're available. They're
Yeah.
out there.
Mm-hmm.
I got to knock the iX for its appearance. Like they tried to
No,
make
they did.
that car
The
hideous.
BMW CEO was quoted saying that he'd rather have a controversial design than a boring one.
Translation: I'd rather have an ugly car than a good-looking car.
Correct.
Mhm. I say Lightning. Chris, do you disagree? My favorite.
I like the Lightning, but I mean, I don't think about either of these cars, so whatever.
What I so much enjoyed about the Lightning was taking traditional truck.
Great, and then you get out of it and look back at it, and just a little bit of like
Sick.
sick comes out.
Yeah.
Because it
Kirk
looks like
said,
a
we
beaver."
saw the iX on the road last week. Wife said it was ugly before I could.
All right.
We just dropped real fast, but I don't think you guys really missed anything except for Chris talking about how nice the iX was to be in.
But not out.
Yes, but not out of. All right, moving up to top right. BMW i4 versus Mercedes EQS.
I don't think this is gonna be very hard.
No, it's the i4.
It's the i4, yeah.
We got to at least mention that the EQS was probably the biggest disappointment of this year. I mean, Mercedes S-Class is always one of the best cars.
I was disappointed with the S-Class too. There were some things
Really?
about the it's weird. What I liked about the EQS, I didn't like about the S-Class, and vice versa. Like, I liked the infotainment on the EQS better than the S-Class. I thought it was way more usable. It wasn't as complicated. It was a little bit simplified.
Mhm.
But the EQS had so many concessions for its aerodynamics and its efficiency. Like, you just didn't fit in it well, and as a luxury experience, it was hard to see out of. There wasn't enough room in the back seats. The front seats were kind of cramped. The driving position was weird. It was a strange vehicle.
Super strange. I only drove it at night because that was the only time that it actually gave me an excuse to go enjoy it, because Mercedes always kills it with ambient lighting.
Yeah, the ambient lighting did look
No
cool.
exception for the EQS. Yeah, it was awesome. However, I will say that I did actually prefer the ambient lighting in the regular S-Class compared to the EQS.
Mm.
But yeah, couldn't see over the dash unless your head was touching the ceiling. So yeah.
Yeah, I think BMW's done it much better with the whole 7 Series i7, where it's the exact same car, but just
Yeah.
one has an electric powertrain. I think that's what Mercedes should have done with the EQS.
I agree.
So we will be picking the i4, which we can talk about a little more next time we talk about it, but it is quite good. Kia EV6 versus Hyundai Ioniq 5.
Ooh, this is a good one. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts.
Charlie's gonna pick the EV6 because you can drift it.
You can drift both.
Can't drift the Ioniq
The Ioniq
5.
5 is a little bit less
Yeah.
drifty.
Is it?
Yeah, you
It's
can only
not
drift the
drifty.
EV6.
I was going to pick the EV6 because I can't buy the Ioniq 5 here in Michigan.
There you go.
The EV6 to me was more fun to drive, a little bit more memorable. I like the way the Ioniq 5 looks,
Mm.
but it left me a little bit bored by the end of the week. Whereas the EV6, I wanted to like explore it more.
I'm gonna pick the Ioniq 5 because
Okay.
I like the way that it looks, and also it took me out to Sean's bachelor party and was a very easy and memorable first EV road trip experience.
That is a good reason. Alyssa pointed out to me that with the Ioniq 5, that giant gaping space there in the middle between the driver and passenger seats, she's like, that's totally pointless because everyone's like, oh, you can put a purse there. And she's like, yeah, until you take one corner.
And it
the
flips
purse
on
just
its side.
and it flips on its side or goes where
Everything
your feet
falls
are.
out.
Yeah, whereas the EV6 actually has a very well-designed cockpit. Yeah.
That's a tough one because they're very similar.
I agree with you that I like the way the Ioniq 5 looks.
Yeah, it's just so cool.
I'm
whereas the
waiting for
EV6 is a bit
yeah.
awkward.
I'm waiting for someone to modify an Ioniq 5, like lower it a little, put wheels on it.
Well,
and-
Hyundai, I think, is going to do an N,
Yeah.
but they're dragging their feet. EV6 GT is already out, and part of me feels like we shouldn't give it to Kia because they didn't invite any of us to the EV6 GT launch event.
Oh,
But I'm still
that
gonna
would be
go-
a little biased, I think.
I'm still gonna go EV6. And
Where?
I think we're 2 out of 3 on that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Toyota Camry versus Genesis GV60. Is that 60?
Yeah, GV60.
Yeah.
I didn't drive the GV60,
Yeah.
but I assume it was very good.
You haven't? Did you drive it at Mama?
Nope.
Oh, shoot.
Mm-hmm.
But I drove the Camry and it's awesome actually. The Camry hybrid is fantastic, but I don't like any of the other ones.
Yeah. I think the GV60 is one of the most unique designed cars on the market right now, and the first car with biometric authentication where you can look at it, unlock it, get in, swipe your finger, drive away, no key.
Yeah.
You could be completely naked and drive that car.
Yes. GV60 is the most fun to drive electric car I've ever driven.
All right.
It reminded me of a Fiesta ST.
Does it drift?
Yes, it
It
has
sure
drift
does.
mode.
Then GV60.
It has drift mode.
Yeah. Although drift mode doesn't
It's
work
hidden,
very well
though.
because
no, it does.
it-
I got it to work every time.
But were you drifting or were you just doing donuts?
Donuts.
Yeah, see, that's not drift mode.
But it is, well, it says drift mode on the car, though.
Right, but it should be called donut mode. I think they just weren't allowed to call it that.
Every car with a drift mode is just donut mode. The Focus RS, that's a donut mode. What else has drift mode? There's another car. The Audi RS3. Chris, did you try drift mode in the RS3? You had to.
I did, yeah.
Did it drift or did it just do donuts?
It did both.
The problem is with the drift mode in the GV60 is it kills the front motor and only runs the rear motor, and the rear motor isn't powerful enough to motivate it to get into like a power slide. It can only go, with full lock.
I see.
But if you don't use drift mode, we found it still will hang the rear end out.
Yeah, if you just put it in sport mode.
And just turn it.
Everything off. Yeah, it'll
Like a
it'll
50,
it'll
drift. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I will go GV60. Although Camry.
Honorable mention for the Camry. I took the Camry Hybrid to Chicago with Emily, and it was a very comfortable experience.
Yeah.
And kind of shined a light on the value of sedans. It also got like 40 mpg the whole way, and it's like not a small light car.
No,
And it's
very red inside.
Very red, yeah. It's very bright.
I will point out that I think the GV60 will be a pointless car in 3 years, but that's most EVs.
That's most EVs, yeah. I mean, look at the Mustang Mach-E.
Yeah,
It's
no one
already
cares about that
pointless.
car anymore.
Yeah.
Mazda 3 versus Chevy Bolt.
Okay, well,
Chris, you just had the Bolt.
we'll let you guys take that one.
How was the new Redline edition?
I like the Bolt. I like how affordable it is. I didn't feel like the fully loaded EUV Redline with all the packages and options was lacking anything. It had everything that I would want out of an EV. It just like checked all the boxes. It had heated ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, nice sound system, CarPlay, dual sunroof, power seats, all the things. It did everything. But the Mazda 3 is hands down one of Mazda's best products. It's just a little bit too cramped and tight, and the Bolt is a little bit more usable as a package, I think. And as for like 99% of people's use, the Bolt is really good value.
The Bolt charges too slowly and is incredibly ugly. The
Can't use it on a
Mazda's
road trip, yeah.
the Mazda's beautiful,
And
but
it comes
you-
in manual.
but you can't use the rear seat.
You can with the sedan, just not the hatchback.
Sure. Which ones can you get the manual with? Not the turbo, right?
You can get the manual with like a mid-grade hatchback. Actually, William's in here. William, what Mazda 3s can you get the manual in? I know you can get it with a hatchback, like a third trim level up or something, but can you get a manual in the sedan? You can have
I
all-wheel
think so.
drive, but not with a manual. You can have all-wheel drive. You can have sedan or hatch.
Also, is the manual any good? Have we driven that,
I have
Chris?
not driven the new manual Mazda 3. I don't know.
There's a few of them out there, but
Yeah.
I just went on the configurator yesterday and built one.
Doesn't William have an older 3 hatch?
No, he's got a newer one.
He's got a new
Yeah.
current gen?
I think. I don't know.
2.5 premium front wheel drive.
That's
hatch.
it then.
Okay. I would pick the Bolt because it's probably cheaper than a Mazda 3 after federal tax credit. And it has Super Cruise.
Okay.
yeah,
Chris, how'd the-
I'll probably go Bolt too.
Okay.
Just it's got to go up against the GV60.
That's true. That'll be
Yeah.
that'll be a good
The
one.
Mazda 3 does have the best sound system in that class, though. By far. I mean, it sounds really good.
Yeah.
With the Bose. I don't know what the bass sounds like.
And the Mazda 3, I think, is Mazda's like best driving car.
I'd pick the Mazda
Except for
3,
Miata,
but
maybe.
Yeah.
being outvoted.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You're being outvoted
Did
by,
we have a
by
Mazda?
old
We
men.
didn't have a Mazda 3 this year.
I bet you we did.
I did in the beginning.
Chris
of the year.
did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we did and just entirely forgot. In fact, I think I retested the sound systems. I'm pretty sure. I think we did.
Oh yeah, it had red. Oh, we had a red one. Ooh.
See, that's the problem. They're forgettable.
I did a TikTok of it because I was like, Soul Red was the best color ever. Yeah, and
There
it
you
was.
go.
Yeah, we had it in like May. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. never
Also,
mind.
the Bolt accelerates really quickly in reverse.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
can throw it into drive at like 10 miles per hour
Yeah.
backward. And, yeah.
I drag raced a V6 Camaro with the Bolt EUV and I smoked him.
In reverse or forward?
Forwards.
Okay.
BMW 3 Series or Lexus IS? Now, this is a good one for you.
This is because I've owned both.
Mm-hmm. And you spent a good amount of time in both of them that we had.
Yeah. I'd have the 3 Series.
I'd have the 3 Series as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, even the IS 500, I don't think it doesn't come up to the level of the M3.
Mm-hmm.
Even the M340i would
340i is really
obliterate the
recommendable.
IS 500.
Like that's like the X3 is just kind of does everything.
Yeah.
In the sedan world.
and it gets like 40 mpg.
I feel bad for the IS because it is a cool car and
love
it
the
looks good.
IS.
It just gets totally forgotten about.
Yeah, but the 3 Series is just that much better in every way.
And the new 3 Series has iDrive 8, so you got to get used to that. It's not terrible. It's just a learning curve.
The best year of a 3 Series to buy would be 2022, because the 2023 ditches the shifter. Also, you can't shift with your right hand.
Oh yeah, you have to bloop claw.
Yeah.
it.
Well, that doesn't matter. It's the manual shifting that they took away. If you're like in a slide and you want to change gears, you can't.
Everyone go buy a 2022
M340i.
M340i.
Yes.
Yeah. Barely even need an M3. It's so fast.
Yeah.
Cadillac CT4, and that includes the V and the Blackwing, or the Kia Stinger. Also, pour one out for the Kia Stinger because it's final.
It's done. They're making
finally
1,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
Final
The
edition.
demise.
Yeah.
CT4V Blackwing, one of my favorite cars of the year.
Same.
Yeah, and I actually quite liked the normal V we had as well, which might have been last year, but still.
We had
It's-
two Blackwings this year.
Yeah.
Very underappreciated.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess we had 3 Blackwings total this year.
I know that the Stinger is a car that you're supposed to love as an auto journalist and a car lover and everything.
Rattles. Trunk rattles.
And the sedan is dying for a reason because SUVs, as we see with this SQ7 that we have right now, can do it just as well at
Stinger's
this
a
point.
hatchback.
It's a liftback. It's supposed to be like this, it's car, and
It's like a Panamera.
probably weighs. Yeah, it's, and we see how well the Panamera does. I'm surprised they even still make that car, Panamera.
Yeah. Well, I thought they'd stop after the Taycan came out.
Yeah.
But they still make the Panamera.
Ooh, this is good. BMW 3 Series versus CT4. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good combo.
Oops, get
We're
back
talking Blackwing M3.
Honda Civic, Cadillac CT5. Have at it, boys.
Well, the Honda Civic is manual and has adaptive cruise control, and the CT5V Blackwing is manual and does not. So therefore,
Are you sure that you didn't just have to do a weird button dance? Because Chris did find that out.
I meant to tell you this, Chris. When we had the Chevy Blazer, it was set into a non-adaptive cruise control mode, and you had to do a PS2 button dance on the steering wheel to put it back into adaptive
GM
cruise.
does not know how to make a manual transmission and make adaptive cruise work.
Okay.
But the CT4V Blackwing we had adaptive cruise.
I don't know that it did. I only found it on the Chevy Blazer because I was doing my fuel economy test and I was like, wow, this $50,000 or $55,000 SUV doesn't have adaptive cruise control. And then I shut my camera off and then I was like, oh, just kidding, there it is. So then on my outro, I was like, oh yeah, it's got adaptive.
Okay.
No, I remember looking it up and looking
You
into it a
didn't
little bit with
look
the
into it?
CT5V Blackwing because I was like, this is $100-some thousand and
Okay.
it doesn't have adaptive cruise. It's only available with the 10-speed auto.
I thought the CT5 was cool, but I didn't love the Blackwing.
I liked the CT4V more.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
the one
more
I would
fun.
have as well.
Yeah.
And the Civic is an excellent car still here in 2020.
That
And
was
all
our
its
last year winner.
right.
We
Chris,
just drove my Type R today, so
I loved the CT5V Blackwing. It was one of my favorite cars of the year. But I also really, really like the Civic and the Civic Si. I haven't driven the Type R yet, but I'm sure I will soon. But I don't know.
the CT5V Blackwing was really good.
That thing was wild. And we
If we're
took it
gonna
on
pick
track.
the Civic, we should talk a little more about the Blackwing. It was a lot. That was one of the cars that I had to get used to driving this year because it was so fast.
It was
And
very fast.
There was just so much car.
It wasn't usable after top of first gear because you're breaking it. Wouldn't it hit almost 60 miles an hour in first gear? It was
Probably.
high 40s for sure.
yeah, and that's something I don't like about that type of car is if you're gonna
Yeah,
have a manual in it,
can't use
you
it.
want to enjoy shifting through a few gears, and you just couldn't in that car because second gear you're breaking every speed limit on the planet.
Yep.
Yeah. Good car. Glad it existed. The other thing I don't like about the CT5 as a lineup is, one, the naming is stupid. They should have just stuck with CTS. But two, I miss the big floaty, boaty car Cadillacs like the CT6 and the XTS. And the CT5 is just like the nail in the coffin, like saying we're not going to build anything bigger than the CT5 is the biggest one. So I'm going to go Civic.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Honda boys.
Volvo V60 and the Infiniti Q50.
Oh, we could just skip past this one. We already know which one wins this.
The Infiniti Q50 is fine, and I would rather have a Q50 than a QX60.
The
Or a
Q50
QX50, for that matter.
The Q50 does deserve an honorable mention because it is still a fine car to drive, and also the dual screen infotainment makes quite a bit of sense. It's easy to make fun of at first when you get into it and you think, what is this afterthought BS in this car? But after living with it for a few days, it actually made quite a lot of sense. And as we know, and as we have learned, old cars are not always bad.
Yeah.
Like the Lexus GX.
I was going to say the Q50 is just the GX of the sedan world.
Exactly, yeah. But the Volvo V60 is just the best ever.
Chris is like, nah.
You don't like the Q50, Chris?
Oh, it's not the GX of the sedan world, but yeah.
I
I
like
just had
the
the
Q50.
V60 cross country. That was really cool. That was super
Yeah.
fun. Just what a great anti-SUV wagon, and there aren't many wagons left. Who's making wagons now? Is Mercedes still making their wagon?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Volvo.
Audi, BMW has like
No, they don't do wagons
their
anymore.
liftback sedan that is a
The 8 Series?
no. What's the
Oh, the
series?
Grand Touring?
The Grand,
I don't
the
think
Grand
they make
Coupe.
those anymore, do they?
Yeah, they have they have the
GT.
M340i Grand Coupe.
Oh, Subaru. Subaru still makes a wagon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like a cool luxury European
Yeah.
wagon.
And Volvo's close
I
to
need to
leaving the
crack my
game
back.
because you can only get the cross country here in America. You can no longer get the
That's
normal
right.
V6. Although I take it back. If you get the T8 Polestar, you can get the normal
That's right.
wagon.
70 grand though.
Yeah.
That Volvo V60 was here the week when I was helping my girlfriend move, and it made the experience so nice because making multiple trips, you could turn up that Bowers and Wilkins sound system and just forget there was even anything in the car.
Yeah.
That car was such a treat. It rode great, had a ton of room.
Mm-hmm.
It was comfortable. All the materials were beautiful. The shifters of crystal, like
It was a luxury car experience at like
Yeah, it was like
$63,000.
$60,000.
Yeah.
everyone, like when people ask me like all the like what's the best car you've driven this year, or like what was the most memorable, like what would you recommend?
Yep.
That V60 that cross country was just phenomenal.
Not the GT3.
Porsche
Which is
911
Not everyone can
GT3
afford a GT3.
versus Dodge Charger.
Oh, we're actually on the GT3. Okay.
Yep.
We had the Charger jailbreak this year, the long named jailbreak ending that, and it was really cool, and I had fun. But gosh, the 911 GT3, which we will be talking about a lot tonight, it's the GT3 has been my favorite car since I first drove one back in about 2018, and still is.
Driving Nirvana.
Yep.
Mhm. The GT3 is great, but it gives that sort of CT5V Blackwing where you can't wind it out anywhere because the gears are so long.
But I feel like I'm willing to push the boundaries more in the Porsche.
I had to blur my speedometer so much in my GT3. All of my GT3 videos, I was like blurring so often because you
got there so fast.
You're in it. You're on the gas for 2 seconds, and you have to blur the.
That's
speedometer.
true.
It's
Well,
so
because you want to
fast.
hear that 9,000 RPM red line,
Yeah.
and you need to get it there.
I mean, I'd pick the GT3 obviously.
Right.
The Charger was a lot of fun though, but it was terrifying to drive. So
I was on my worst behavior in both of these cars. It brought out a bad side.
we didn't have a GTR this year, so you had to hoon
Yeah.
the Charger jailbreak.
I forgot how fun those Chargers are on the street. Like I'm really used to driving those on track because we drive them at M1 Concourse for thrill rides and everything. And the Charger on the street is it's a handful. It's so fast. It's super fun. Sounds amazing. It's probably the cheapest feeling interior for $100 grand that I've ever been in, but I just don't care. Like it's really awesome.
The other cool thing with the Charger is you can get the Scat Pack and get most of the same amount of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still roast the
Yeah.
tires. It still sounds cool.
Shorter gearing, so you're
Yeah.
still ripping through them.
Yeah.
Yeah. BMW M4. Do you have one more thing?
I was just gonna say it's worth mentioning that both of these cars had to be in my garage for the time that I was driving them. The GT3 just because it's a $250,000 car, and the Charger because you don't need keys to start it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Anyways.
Couldn't make it through the video without pointing that out.
Sorry.
BMW M4 versus Subaru WRX.
This is rare for me, but I'm gonna go Subaru.
I am as well.
Me
loved
too.
that WRX.
WRX is awesome.
So much fun.
The M4, and this may have been 2021 when we drove it, but we're like, oh, cool, the manual. And I was kind of like,
And then it wasn't as good.
yeah, because you lose horsepower with the manual, and the competition felt like a freight train, whereas the normal...
No, we had an M4 this year, X-Drive.
Yeah, that's right.
That was nauseatingly fast. 0 to 60 was like 2.8 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it's so
So
fast.
But
I
how
just,
was the CSL?
Oh, I don't know.
Now,
Charlie,
the CSL, that's a different story, but it costs too much.
And no one can buy it.
Yeah.
Charlie didn't let me drive it at Test Fest, so.
The Subaru X, you can go out and get at MSRP these days. They're out there. They're available. You can order one.
Well, on that,
I was also scared of crashing the CSL, so I voluntarily didn't drive it.
I made that decision for you, so
Yeah.
you didn't have to
You're like,
admit that.
Chris, don't go and drive it. Anyways.
BMW 2 Series versus the Audi A3, S3, and RS3, the A series, if you will, the 3 series of Audis.
Everyone wants to know this answer. Like the YouTube comments are overflowing with this question.
Well, I can tell you the answer, and it's the 2 Series.
Yeah. 100%.
You really liked the S3, Chris, but
the
we didn't drive
S3
it.
was one of my favorite cars all year. I liked it more than the RS3. I didn't drive the A3. I thought the S3 was just amazing. The only problem I had with it is every time you hit a pothole, your spine just like shatters. It's so rough.
I
With
thought
the
you said
bumps.
your soul left your body.
Oh my gosh, that too. Yeah, it was like you just got clapped, but your ears got clapped with the NVH that entered the cabin. It was pretty brutal, but so much fun.
William Long brings up a good point. This is not the Grand Coupe, the 2 Series Grand Coupe, which is an awful model. And the 2
Yeah.
Series might need to lose just because that exists.
I drove
But-
that this year on track.
Yeah.
I drove it at Autobahn, and it was very simulated in trying to be something that it's not.
Yeah, woeful.
Also, the badge on the back said M235i, right?
Yes.
Which traditionally means it's a 6-cylinder. But I don't think it was.
I did the exact same thing when we had one for review. I started the review thinking, ooh, cool, like, got the
Inline
inline
six,
6. This
but it
thing's gonna be
isn't. It's
sporty.
a 2-liter.
And I'm like driving it. I'm like, sounds pretty weird for a 6-cylinder.
Sounds like a Mini Cooper.
Yeah, and I was pissed when I found out that it was a 4.
So the 230i, the rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, getting back to the coupe.
Oh,
Yes, the coupe.
that thing was awesome.
And I like how those cars look. Everyone's like, again, oh, they're ugly, but they're different. You know, they stand out. They make a
grew on me in
statement.
person for sure.
Yeah.
Same with the M2 when we
And
saw
the
that.
Thunder Knight metallic.
Oh, purple. Any car that comes in purple deserves to win over the car that doesn't come in purple.
The RS3 does come in some fun colors.
Oh,
as well,
I
though.
actually think the RS3 does come in purple. Dang it.
Yeah, and the really loud
And
green.
Python green.
Yeah.
I liked the A series or the Audis that we drove.
Problem is
but I loved the 2 series.
We drove the A3 and the RS3, and Chris drove the S3. I guess, well, he
drove
drove
the
the
RS
RS3 too.
Yeah.
The A3 was so bland.
If you liked all of them, I would say we pick the Audi. But the problem is we love the 230i, we love the M240i, and I know we're gonna love the M2.
And we only love one of the Audis.
Yeah, that's true. And
Yep.
you guys didn't drive it.
Yep.
All right.
Next up, this one was a bit of a throwaway, but I needed something to go up against the Kona N and take the sword. So we could have the conversation of Kona N versus Elantra N.
All right. I'm going to have to say Elantra N just because it's a more complete product. But the Kona N, driving that made me want to go buy one. Like, it was so much fun. I think that's the most fun front-wheel drive hot hatch I may have ever driven or driven in the last few years.
Yeah. The Kona N is one of the only cars we had this year that I went out specifically just to go on a drive. Like, I went multiple times. I think I had that car for 4 days, and I went out every night and just went for a drive because it was so much fun.
Yep.
However, the Elantra N is almost just
90%.
as fun, and you can have a manual.
And it has a back seat.
And it has a
yeah.
bigger back seat, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all that, but I think the short wheelbase of the Kona is enough of a reason to pick it. For me at least, it's the Elantra N feels like the smart choice, but if you want to vote with your heart, you get the Kona.
Yeah.
And it's kind of uglier, but like more striking.
There's a lot
it
of
looks
design,
weird.
a lot of designs going on.
Yeah.
Something bad though, they got rid of Performance Blue, as we found out.
Yes,
recently.
that's
It's
unfortunate.
pretty sad. I guess you can have red though still.
I'm okay with either one.
But you chose Elantra. What would you?
I'm going Kona.
So I have to be the tiebreaker. I'm gonna pick Kona. I think the Elantra is cool, but the other problem with the Elantra is you start getting into other alternatives. You're like, oh well, do I get a Civic then? Do I get a Jeep for a sec?
Uh-oh.
And we're back. I guess the internet here just likes to periodically dip out.
Oh
and
yeah,
come
we're
in.
back. There we go.
Yeah, we picked Kona N.
Yeah, Kona N1.
Mhm.
Conan.
Acura Integra versus Subaru BRZ/Toyota GR86. You didn't drive the Integra yet, have you?
I have driven the Integra for 10 minutes back from when we swapped with Chris one oddball week where we
Okay.
did a trifecta car swap.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really remember much other than that it was a manual. And what color was the interior? I don't even. Was it red?
Could have been red.
I think it was
They have
like
some
a
fun
reddish
interior
black or
colors.
something.
It was manual. I mean, it just felt like a Civic Si. So.
I quite liked the Integra.
Except heavier.
I thought I didn't expect to because I was like, oh, I'm just going to Civic. But
yeah,
I do
you drove
think
that car around for like a few
few
days. Why
days,
didn't
yeah.
I drive it?
you were driving the.
I was driving the Kona N.
No,
I
he
wasn't.
was
had
driving the Kona N.
What was I driving?
I don't know, something you needed to drive. I think
Something I had to film like 4 videos on.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually do think they differentiated the Integra enough from the Civic to make it worthwhile. I think it's attractive. I think it's a nice place to be inside. And I could see how someone like my wife, for example, would feel like she's actually getting a really cool product with the Integra, like an elevated experience. But I would know I'm still getting like a cool, fun car like the Civic Si. But if I got her a Civic Si, she'd be like, I feel like a boy racer.
Integra is also a really nice slow car, fast car. Like the gearing is short. It's fun to drive around town. It's very luxurious. It kind of does it all really well. And honestly, with markups on Civic Si's, you can get an Integra at pretty much MSRP for about the same price as an SI, which is kind of a no-brainer, honestly, unless if you're trying to race.
Now, I like the GR86 and the BRZ, and I'm glad it exists. I'm just not a huge fan of it. I like the way your car
I was
is
just
done
going to say, I don't like the
because-
way it comes, but I like his.
Yeah, I like what you've done to yours. You've made it perfect.
Yeah.
But the fact that you have to make so many mods to it, I kind of pointed out how like
just a couple things, just a subtle,
and they're
few
easy
subtle
things to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So I
I-
understand if you want to pick BRZ here.
I'm definitely BRZ because the BRZ is the 240 SX of our modern era. Like it is the quintessential usable rear-wheel drive, fun manual sports car. Like it's such a great platform. And there are it's not perfect, but it's a really really good car, especially compared to all the other competition out there that doesn't have a handbrake anymore, that is overly complicated with tech. Like it's a brand new car from 20 years ago, and I think finally it rivals in terms of performance a lot of the vehicles that people cross shop, like the Boxster or the Cayman or the S2000. As far as lap times, you make a few tweaks, like a BRZ is really fast around track.
Sure.
I had a lap battle earlier this year with a 987 Cayman S, and I was on stock tires and driving
you were-
11 tenths,
Mhm.
very sideways, but it
That's
was
a fun
hanging.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was a little bit lackluster on the straights, but in the corners it kind of reeled everything in, and it's a surprisingly quick car. And you do a few mods to it, and that's the thing about the BRZ G86 is everyone's going to mod it a little bit.
Yes,
and that's
it's a
kinda what
great
set up
platform for that.
So, yeah, of course I'm voting BRZ because I bought one, but I also
I'm okay with the tag losing here. I just want it to at least to be known that I did actually really appreciate that car, and
Yeah.
I would choose the Integra over the BRZ.
I'm going to go BRZ.
Yeah,
86.
I figured you
Yeah.
would. Yep. It's Toyota Supra versus Mazda Miata.
Oh, Charlie, we didn't drive a Miata this year.
Yes, we did.
This
Yeah,
is
we
interesting
did.
because I'm going to be a total hypocrite here. Based on our last conversation, I drove a modified Miata, and it was fantastic. But I don't like the way they feel stock.
Yeah, you don't, because you did a comparo between that and a BRZ that was a bit modded and a third car, S2000, and
Yeah.
you were like, the Miata sucks.
Yeah, and then I drove my
Exaggerating.
buddy Victor's modified Miata with an exhaust, brakes, sway bars, just a few tweaks here and there, and it was one of the best sports cars. But they're still expensive. Miatas are 35 grand, 40 grand now.
No, you can get a club at 30, 31.
Yeah, but then you got to get an exhaust. It's like the BRZ. That's why I said I'm being a hypocrite right now.
Yeah.
I think the Supra is really cool, and I'm glad it exists.
I'd have the Supra.
The
But
manual Supra is very special. You guys didn't get to
I
drive
haven't gotten
that.
to drive that yet,
And
no.
Toyota finally had made it happen. Don't know what they were waiting for, but it's a really nice product. It's one of the best BMWs they make.
I've been having a resurgence of love with the Miata ever since I drove your buddy's NC. I was like, oh yeah, the Miata's just such a great car. And I feel like that's the experience every time you drive a Miata. You're like, oh yeah, Miata's a great car.
It is.
So I'd say Miata.
I'm just remembering that the Miata that we had this year was the week of Mama, and it sat, and then the only time I drove it is when I did back-to-back night drives with Miata and CT5V Blackwing.
Yeah, it was just a stacked week.
So it was
against
like a
that car.
weird, it was a weird timing thing.
I'm going to think a little bit outside this bracket. I would rather have a GR86 BRZ than a Supra.
Okay.
But I don't know what I'd rather have for fun between those two and a Miata. So let's take it there.
Chris,
Miata.
do you have a tiebreaker? I mean, it's not a tie, but I'm just curious.
Wait,
What you'd pick
did
between
you guys
Supra?
both pick Miata?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. I like the Supra, but I'm not like obsessed with the Supra, so whatever. I
think
liked
it
the one
looks
we had
great.
this year.
Supra's really fast.
Yeah, it's very
So
fast.
fast. Thanks, BMW.
It doesn't have it doesn't. Well, okay. I shouldn't say it doesn't have grip anywhere, because when we drove it, it was like 30 degrees out. We were on Pilot Sport 4Ss, so.
Lexus LC500 versus Jaguar F-Type. We were fortunate enough to spend a lot of time in both of these cars this year.
I'm gonna be a tiebreaker on this one. I already know it.
Oh, man.
I'm going to pick Lexus.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Lexus too.
Really?
It's just one of the best cars.
I don't need to be a
ever.
tiebreaker.
But the Jag is really fun. Like for thrills and for just a great all-weather daily, the all-wheel drive, the V8, everything about that car is just so well honed. The brakes are a little weak, but it's just so awesome.
How was the P450 you just drove?
So that was actually in our dynamic. The Monroney was wrong, but that was
But
basically
what-
just a
oh,
coupe
so it-
version of the convertible.
Oh, so you got another.
Yeah, it was brown. It was awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it was an R.
It was
yeah.
on. Also, the coupe.
Maybe they just gave you the wrong car.
the
Like,
coupe is way more buttoned down and easily drivable than
see
the
that.
convertible. Like the chassis stiffer. There's
Was it
more
all-wheel drive?
understeer. It was all-wheel drive,
Yeah.
V8, 500 some horsepower, 575, and it was so much more forgiving than the convertible was. Which
I
the
believe
convertible
that.
was kind of scary. It was a little bit sketchy.
We spent a lot of
liked.
time in that convertible F-Type.
yeah, it's cool.
But the LC is just like that's just one of the nicest cars ever made. It's crazy the build quality, and it's just such a comfortable
Yeah.
GT car. It thrills on a back road too. It's just great.
Okay, last one. Volkswagen Jetta GLI versus the Kia Forte GT.
I like them both.
I would take the Forte GT, and here's why. I looked it up again today. You can get into a Forte GT for $25,000 with that pretty darn good DCT, and you
Or
can
manual if you'd like.
or a manual for a little bit more, and you can throw in heated and ventilated seats for $27,000. We've got people buying Civic SIs and not even getting heated seats for that price and paying markups. I could go down to Joe Kia dealership right now, probably find a Forte GT on the lot. If not, I'll go to the next one. And I know this because I looked it up, and there's like 8 within a 30-mile radius of us right
Are you
now.
sure they weren't GT lines?
No, they were full GTs.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Yep,
Nice.
and you could get cool colors with them. Great amount of features, and we had pretty good fun with it. Got a growly sound.
That
It
was
like
that was a surprisingly
looks
fun
nice.
car.
It was very
Yeah.
fun to drive. Yeah, I liked the Forte GT.
And I think the Volkswagen GLI is just like, well, I'd have a Civic.
The GLI is good because it's at the tail end of still being usable because it still has Volkswagen's old infotainment.
It's like the iDrive
But-
7 argument.
The door panels don't match, so I'd pick the Forte.
The GLI was surprisingly good. The more I drove it, the more I liked it, and it actually that thing hustles. It's
Yeah, it does
quick.
have some power. It's the German deceiving
Yeah.
power sort of deal.
Gearing's a little bit too tall, and I don't know if it's as good as previous generation GLIs. So,
The Volkswagen cars just keep
also,
getting worse.
what is the GLI now? About 32,000.
Yeah, it's the other thing.
You can only have
Yeah.
it one way. They took
it's
away
mono
the
spec.
base model. You have to have an Autobahn now.
Mm-hmm.
The only option you can put on
There we go. Reconnected. Sorry about that, guys. We are back. Probably losing viewers every time it does that. It's unfortunate. Can't control the weather. All right, let's go to our first of the year quadrant. Best interior. Mercedes-Benz EQS, BMW iX, Rolls-Royce Cullinan, Land Rover Defender. Now, this should be pointed out that objectively speaking, the Cullinan interior was really darn impressive. I mean, you could tap things with your fingernail, and it was all this solid metal that was really, really darn cool.
It had umbrellas in the doors.
Yes, but we ended up going with the BMW iX. So unique, so fun, very premium materials, still fairly easy to use. You still get a rotary knob there that's crystal.
And a crystal volume knob.
Yep.
So svelte.
You got like you had touch sensitive buttons that were within like a wood inlay sort of deal. Is really cool.
I really liked being inside the iX. It was just a great experience.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Best color. We have the Alfa Romeo Stelvio with Verde Montreal, the Lexus RX with Copper Crest, the Audi RS3 and e-tron GT with Camorra Gray, and the BMW X7 with Verde Hermes.
Yeah, we should probably point out that the BMW X7 is an individual color. It isn't a color you can just have, but well, you can have it, but you can't just have it.
The Stelvio was the most attention-grabbing color of the year.
That color was
I couldn't go
insane.
anywhere without people snapping photos. It drew crowds.
Oh, my hater's in here.
Don't give him credence.
Sorry.
We ended up going with Verde Montreal on the Stelvio.
That was awesome.
That
That was
was
a pretty good SUV too.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
drove really well.
Yeah, no, I do like the Stelvio quad. I've driven
Did
in
you-
the past.
did you drive that? You
I didn't
didn't
drive
drive
this
it?
one, but I've driven.
I drove the green one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, pretty darn
Phenomenal.
cool. Best sound system. I figured it was fitting to put this in here. BMW i4's Harman Kardon, Rolls-Royce Cullinan's sound, Volvo V60's Bowers and Wilkins, and the Acura MDX Type S's ELS. And I realize now that I only did Harman Kardon for the top. But Chris, do you have any guesses?
I'm going to say it's the Volvo.
I mean, I really like the ELS system, but I know you guys like the Volvo.
The Volvo system is the most pure listening of all of them. A lot of these sound systems, they do sound incredible, but you can kind of tell that they're pumping up certain elements. It sounds very like expensive and cool. This gives you such a crisp, like you could listen to acoustic guitar and feel like you're really sitting by a campfire. Yeah, definitely my fave there.
Can't go wrong.
I think those are our first three.
Okay.
All right, you guys ready for more bracket? What's going on in the comment section
Isle of
here?
Man green honorable mention. Yeah, that's the color on the M3, M4. Also a very nice green. I don't know that I've seen one in person.
I liked that purple that you had, Chris, in the with the BMW
Techno Violet.
Yeah, that Techno
Yeah.
Violet was really cool.
That's an individual for the 50th anniversary car.
Yeah. All right, these are the we recommended them categories. Time to start narrowing things down, and it starts getting difficult now. Mazda CX-5, Subaru Forester.
The Mazda.
I would pick the Mazda, but I see why. I think the Subaru Forester is the second best Subaru, maybe the third best.
I would
Third
agree.
best, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mazda. Oh no! Why does it say Nissan Kicks?
It's all gone wrong.
I guess I can just type it in. Probably. That's strange.
Yeah, what's up with Nissan Kicks?
The Kicks is trying to kick its way in. Hopefully, not all of them do that. Volvo XC60 versus BMW X3.
This is a good one.
It is a good one.
I think the X3 is a little bit better rounded of a lineup, and it's just a bummer they don't offer a plug-in hybrid to compete with the XC60 T8.
Or any hybrid for that
Yeah.
matter. But their motors are so efficient, although they take premium fuel, though. So I think the front of the X3 is ugly.
I think the back of it's ugly.
Yeah, I know.
The XC60 looks good from all angles.
Yeah, and you can get a crystal shift knob.
And a phenomenal sound system.
But it is made in China, so if that's a concern
Is
of
it
yours.
really?
Yeah.
Where do they make the X3? Not in Germany.
Probably Spartanburg.
Yeah, they make it in South Carolina.
I don't know who I would trust more. Probably the Chinese to build a car.
I have no comment on that.
Volvo XC40 versus Kia Sportage. I think I would pick.
I didn't drive the
Yeah,
Sportage.
neither of you have driven the Sportage.
I liked the old Sportage, though.
Mm.
I don't know if the new one is it sporty?
It's off-road capable.
Okay.
They had us off-roaded at the launch event. The Volvo XC40 is cool. I think it's too small.
We already picked the XC60. That's kind of
Yeah,
like
give it to the
the
Kia.
sweet spot.
Okay. We're gonna have a Kia win this, and neither of you are going to have driven it. Next up, Jeep Grand Cherokee versus Porsche Macan. This is kind of an interesting one.
Macan.
I'm gonna go Macan, even though I went on a huge tangent earlier about how I don't like SUVs that are sporty.
I think the Macan, though, is best in class, whereas
yeah.
the Grand Cherokee leaves a lot to be desired to be
Yeah.
best in class.
But
And
then
when you remote start it, one of the screens doesn't work.
Very buggy.
I want to pick the Jeep. I really do, especially with the plug-in hybrid and everything. But yeah, I just don't think I can trust after the issues we had
Yeah.
with that one. I know it's just a single example, but the Macan really was a cool car. So it's going to be Macan for me, folks. Ford Maverick versus Hyundai Palisade. Thoughts?
I mean, we got to give one to the Maverick because you bought one.
Well, that's why I'm going last. I want to hear your general thoughts
Yeah.
first.
I like the Maverick as a whole better. Yeah.
You guys, I don't want you to just appease me.
Thanks, Kirk. See
Thanks
you
for
later.
tuning in, Kirk. Have to check out tomorrow to see which wins.
No, I'm kind of neutral on the Palisade, and on the Maverick, it's one of the best values right now for affordable vehicles. If you can get one at MSRP, if you can find one,
Right.
you were able to very early on, and
Ever
didn't-
since then.
yeah, I mean, you just got to search for it.
Mhm.
So it's a great product, really versatile, super usable.
Hybrid.
Yep.
I like the Palisade. I do. There's a reason why the Telluride's not on here, because we haven't driven it yet.
Oh yeah.
The
Well, we are
facelifted
in
one.
a couple weeks though.
Yep. It's going to have to be
They made it
eligible for
worse
next year.
though, because it looks worse.
Yeah, they got rid of the cool DRLs.
They got rid of the only thing that made it. Well, not the only thing.
Oh,
They got rid of the main thing that made it stand out. The orange DRLs.
I'd also like to point out with the new Palisade, you get the XRT model that fixes the gauges. It's got a cool new gauge thing.
Yeah, the Nero has those too. No, well, not this Nero. The hybrid Nero and the
Okay.
plug-in hybrid Nero has the XRT gauges.
Rolls-Royce Cullinan or Hyundai Santa Fe?
Cullinan.
Yeah, probably the Cullinan. You know what's funny is I think last year the Rolls-Royce Cullinan went up against the Ford Maverick also. I seem to remember that.
We wouldn't have driven a Rolls-Royce Cullinan last year.
Oh yeah. What went up? Something funny went up against
Probably
the
like a
Maverick.
McLaren or
Yeah, it was like
something.
a McLaren. Yeah, something funny.
You'd pick the Cullinan even at, what, $370-some thousand starting price or whatever, Chris?
100%. Oh yeah. I mean, everyone should get a Cullinan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think the Santa Fe is... I think...
Built by children.
That is a problem.
Is that a thing that like came out
I
recently
mean,
or something?
12-year-olds do really a nice job building cars.
Is the Santa Fe one of the ones built in that
But
factory?
the Rolls-Royce Cullinan is handmade by not children.
In England.
Okay.
Yeah, Hyundai's got some child labor issues right now.
Good tiebreaker there, Chris.
Yep.
Hyundai, you lost this with your child labor. Good job. Ford Bronco versus GMC Sierra. I would have the Sierra. I think the Sierra is the full-size truck to buy right now. But I did love the Bronco. I loved the Bronco manual, but I don't like how just plasticky everything else is in the Bronco.
Bronco all the way.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Yeah, I think I'm still going to go Bronco just because it's
Yeah.
so fun to drive.
And there's so much diversity to the lineup, whereas
Mhm.
it's fun. The Sierra isn't fun. It's nice.
We don't vote on fun. We vote on, let's remind everyone.
Driftability. Can you turn traction stability control completely off now?
How is it to drive? How is it to own? And how well does it execute its purpose?
Fun in all three categories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will admit the Bronco's super cool. So it
So
gets that.
cool.
And its purpose is to be cool. So it does that really well. I would worry about owning one in terms of they've had a very speckled launch in terms of reliability and Ford and their 2.7s and everything.
The GMC Sierra isn't the Lexus GX though, either.
I mean, I'll take if it's 2-1, I will take the Bronco. But I'm just pointing out that the Sierra, you can get the
I also didn't
four-cylinder,
drive the
you can
Sierra.
get two different 6s, and if the EV were out, then this would be a whole different conversation. Bronco. Land Rover Defender versus F-150 Lightning.
Defender.
I'd pick Lightning.
The Lightning was one of the most impressive EVs I've driven all year from a driving standpoint. I think Ford did a really good job with the Lightning. I don't know how much an EV truck makes sense, but
I think to a lot of people it does.
yeah,
Makes a good amount
I
of
think
sense.
Lightning's it's got to be Lightning.
Yeah.
It's a special product.
Yeah. The thing is with an EV truck that makes a lot of sense is electric vehicles make more sense as the vehicle gets heavier because you're recuperating more kinetic energy and putting it back into your battery. Whereas with a normal truck, you're just burning all of that energy off into brake rotor. So the heavier the car gets, the better efficiency gains that you're getting. So
And it's a really good driving.
It's
EV.
so
Like,
fast.
it's so fast. It's so smooth.
there we go. We're back. They're getting worse, folks. The disconnections are getting worse. Sorry, it's can't control the internet, but we're back and we waited for you. Moving up to the top right. Robert, thank you for joining as a DM supporter. Appreciate you. BMW i4 versus Kia EV6. This is kind of interesting because both of these are like drivey sort of cars, drivey sort of EVs. I would pick the i4.
Yeah, me too.
Kia did a better job tuning the all-wheel drive system, I think.
Yeah, you didn't like the i4 at the limit, did
The
you?
i4 was a mess. It didn't know where to send power,
Mm.
but it was a very nice electric vehicle and very fast, very capable. I think a lot of people really enjoy it. Charging architecture, EV6 is more usable as an EV to road trip. That 800 volt charging architecture is pretty.
Does the
impressive.
i4 doesn't have 800 volt?
I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe
I don't know.
Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say EV6.
Chris, I know you're distracted
Sorry.
by commenters, but i4, EV6, you're the tiebreaker on this one.
The only EV6 I drove was the GT line rear wheel drive. I think that's the one that we had this year. The i4 stood out more to me in the M50 trim just because it was so bonkers. But I mean, obviously, I don't drive cars to the limit like Chris does. So if you guys have if you have a better reason that the EV6 should win, I'm not going to argue. I just really liked the i4.
i4 also was a little bit tight in the back seat.
Yeah, but
Small.
the i4 has an amazing amount of range, and like you can make that much range. Like you can actually we tested it, get 300 miles,
Oh,
no
really?
problem. Yeah,
Oh,
and
wow, okay.
yeah. It's also decently priced once you get into the lower model ones. I think it's a great alternative to the Model 3 that a lot of people have. And to your point about the 800 volt architecture, there is one charge station in all of Western Michigan out of about 20 or 25 DC fast chargers that can actually support that higher charge rate.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's almost more useful to just like not even put your hopes on getting that extra high charge rate. And I mean, I admit it's definitely nice, but it's not like you can just take advantage of it at every single DC fast charger.
Also, I'm kind of pretty neutral on both. Like, I did really enjoy the i4 over the week too. So if you guys wanted to go that's fine.
i4 it is.
Yeah.
Genesis GV60 versus Chevy Bolt. This one's tough for me, and Chris won't be much help because he hasn't driven it. Although you've seen it, I mean, you know about it.
I mean, the Bolt they haven't really done anything revolutionary with it in a long time. It's just gotten facelifts, and the GV60 seems like it's a very special EV product. So I'd probably say GV60 just based on because I have the new G90 this week, and I think
Mhm.
that shares some similarities in the interior with
Mhm.
G60.
A little bit, yeah.
Because it's just a new Genesis product, and it's really impressive. So
I'd go GV60, yeah, just because it stood out as my favorite EV, so most fun to drive.
Chris, to your point there a little bit, when you made about the Bolt, yeah, they haven't done anything with the Bolt, but they haven't done anything and it's made it so it could get very cheap. Whereas like Nissan hasn't done anything with the Leaf. In fact, they actually have. They've facelifted and everything, but yet it's still very expensive. So I think the Bolt is remarkable in that it's the only EV that you could go out and buy right now, like as a common person, and just like afford it and have it make sense to buy it because it costs so low.
that's true.
I mean, it starts at $25,000, and it's one of the very few EVs that's going to be eligible for the federal tax credit. So you can have it for under $20,000 if you're eligible for that full thing.
If I were going to go buy an EV, the Bolt would be at the top of the list.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to ignore. And it's one of the few EVs you could justify as having as a second vehicle. Like,
Yeah.
think if your wife had one, if my wife had one, like, when has Charlotte ever driven her Highlander more than 250 miles?
To
Maybe you guys,
Kalamazoo, but yeah.
which is 140 miles.
Yeah.
Which obviously would be sketchy to make it there and back. It'd be, 200-mile round trip there and back. But yeah,
Sorry.
you're still gonna say GV60?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I would.
Yeah.
Let us know if any of you are hearing any music in the background. We can go ask people. It sounds like they might have their door open or something, playing some music out there.
Should be okay. Copyright free.
Yeah, good point.
It's a tough one because the GV60 is exciting and the Bolt is kind of old news, but it's old reliable. So
I think the GV60 it's cool, but I don't think it has a chance of beating the i4, and I think the Bolt versus i4 has a better argument.
okay,
Yeah, is that fair?
that's fine. All right.
All right.
Also, I haven't driven the GV60, so I shouldn't really say anything with that.
BMW 3 Series versus Cadillac CT4. I'm going to give it to the CT4 because of the Blackwing.
The Blackwing, yeah. I would
I-
also go CT4.
I think the interior of the CT4 sucks, but I think you gotta be willing to get over it. Can you hear?
I'm
it?
gonna base this off of how on the track the M3 was like gave me a headache. It was like ear piercing. Like the tone of the exhaust was like horrid, and the CT4 didn't. So
Yeah.
and I enjoyed the CT4 more on track. It was a little bit more fun to drive.
I guess the only downside to picking the Cadillac is I would not have any of the base Cadillac CT4s over any of the BMW 3 Series. It's only the Blackwing that I would choose over the BMW. So maybe I actually would pick 3 Series.
That's a good point, actually.
The CT4V Blackwing was so much better than the M3, M4.
Right. But was it actually, though? Because think about how much fun we had in that M3 comp.
Yeah, that was really
Crazy
fun. That was really
fast and
fast.
pretty darn good. I changed my mind. I'm going 3 Series.
The 3 Series is a better, well-rounded lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to pop out real quick and see if their door is open, because that just seems really loud.
Emily said she can't hear it. I just texted her and
Yeah, I
said,
don't
"Can you
think
hear
it's coming
music?"
through that
And she
much.
said
No.
she couldn't hear it.
Right. I'm just distracted.
Oh,
but
you're distracted. Okay.
Yeah, go out there, Charlie.
You guys can discuss Civic versus V60 and try to come to a consensus
Oh.
before I get there.
I think it's the V60.
What?
What do you mean?
Slip a little bribe under the table here.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Honda Civic's the best car.
The V60 is just one little couple cars. The Civic, there's so many of them.
That's true, but the
So many Civics.
the V60 stuck out to me so much. Is their door not shut?
No, it's shut, and it's literally the furthest one away. It's just really loud.
Yeah, it's so loud. This happened last year too.
Yeah.
Oh well.
This is a little more.
This was the reason why we stopped coming.
Yeah,
to
one of
this. One of the reasons, yeah.
All right. Did you guys come up with anything interesting?
Chris says Civic, I say V60, so you're the tiebreaker.
Oh no! Did you guys do that intentionally?
Well, the Civic won last year. I mean,
Oh yeah, that is a
You
good
know.
point.
but there is now a new Civic that didn't exist last year.
There's a
Civic
Type R, which is very, very good.
I'm gonna go
Mhm.
V60.
What?
Ooh, boy.
I really like the Civic. I really do. But the fact that it won last year, and
The V60 is good, but it's a little humdrum. And the XC60, I think, is a more complete package for most people. And the Civic is, like, if you were to recommend someone to just buy an affordable car,
I know.
not a Civic. Whereas the V60, the entry is 50,000 plus. And at that price, wouldn't you rather have, like, a 3 Series or
No.
something else?
No, I'd have a V60.
I'd have the
Or an
V60.
S60
and
or
that's
something.
the problem. All right, so let's think. How is it to drive? The V60 is one of the best cars we had to drive.
Yeah.
Definitely better to drive than the Civic. How would it be to own?
Okay,
Debatable.
okay, until it's worth $2,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
so I
Volvos
mean,
are worth $2,000 eventually.
I will admit that that just having the 2-liter turbo, that's gonna, they're not the most reliable necessarily. Whereas a Civic would be great to own. It's gonna be very cheap, very reliable, a very nice car to be in. How well does it execute its purpose? The purpose of a Civic is to be an affordable, usable car in a lot of different situations, and I think it does that excellently. We already know this because it won last year. The purpose of the Volvo V60 is to be stylish. It is. It's beautiful. It makes a statement. It's comfortable, remarkably. It's easy to use. It provides every feature that you want in that class, aside from maybe a camera rear view mirror. And it kind of stands out. It's a little different. Like you said earlier, wagons. Like, who's making them anymore?
But the left side of the steering wheel, the 2 buttons, the right, left, they don't do anything anymore because they got rid of that function.
That part is a little bit strange, isn't it?
And they got rid of the dimmer switch on the left too. You have to go into the menu 5 screens to dim your display at night. The Civic is ergonomic perfection for 2022. For like a usable interior, it's kind of the gold standard for how car interiors should be going forward. It's like anti-screen, anti-this and that, and I feel like the Android OS still needs some work in the V60, and they've oversimplified it a little bit compared to some previous generation Volvos. They've improved some aspects like speed and responsiveness and stuff, but the V60 was great, and I like it, but I feel like the Civic is just such a better rounded product. And we already have some other Volvos in here, too.
So you're still Volvo?
It was like my favorite car this year, so yeah.
I'm sorry, Chris. I gotta go Volvo.
You guys
are
weird.
It's
You guys are
perfect.
weird.
I totally agree with your arguments, and I agree the Civic's great. My concern is how far do we let the Civic go then? Do we let it win again? Can a car win 2 years in a row?
No, but it should be better than the Volvo V60. Maybe.
I don't know.
All right, that's good. Let's move on.
All right. Porsche 911 GT3 or Subaru WRX. I liked the WRX better than I thought I would, but it needs to be louder. It's too quiet. And for that, I'd pick the GT3.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Subaru from a driving perspective, but it definitely leaves room for, they could make it better.
Needs better brakes, whereas the GT3 does not need better brakes.
Yeah.
So are we cool with GT3?
I do love the WRX, but yeah, the GT3.
Oof, I'm not looking forward to this. BMW 2 Series, Hyundai Kona N.
I'm still Kona N.
I'm still Kona N as well.
Yeah.
All right, that was easy.
I'm not looking forward to this though. Biggest consensus.
Closer than I think you like. I don't want to make it seem like it's a no-brainer for everyone. I think part of the reason we're a little just blah about the 2 Series because it's been a while since we drove it. We drove them both earlier in the year, but those cars were really great to drive and be in. And who's making coupes anymore? Kona N. Subaru BRZ in 86, speaking of coupes, versus the Mazda MX-5 Miata.
So I will say, I think this latest generation of BRZ GR86 is more Miata-like than it ever has been.
That's a good way to put it.
It's a little bit lighter feeling, a little bit more nimble, has better power to weight than the Miata does now. It's actually a little bit quicker. And it's just such a great overall usable package. People could have it and own it as their only vehicle, whereas a Miata is a second vehicle, is a second car, and the Miata is more expensive.
I think the things that your points about it being more of a second car make it better for that. I mean, I think, yeah, some people are going to buy a BRZ as their main vehicle, but I think the Miata sticks to its purpose more of just being a fun weekend second or third sort of car. And it'd be so cheap to own, so fun to drive still. It's a convertible, and I'm a soft spot for convertibles. You can get it in 2 different body styles, technically.
You can't really fit in it if you're over 6 foot.
I know, isn't that a shame?
Whereas the BRZ,
cramped.
you can fit in if you're like 6'6". It doesn't matter.
Well, actually, technically, the Miata you can fit in if you're infinite height.
Yes, it doesn't have a roof.
Your head will just scrape on the pavement. You roll over. No, I gotta vote BRZ. I love the Miata. After I drove that modified one, I thought about getting one. And now that I have a Type R, my ideal second car would probably be a Miata. But love the BRZ. And it's all new for 2022 too. So I feel like that has to give it a little bit higher of a running. in this because the Miata's already been out for a while.
Chris, tiebreaker, and you don't have to worry about breaking Chris's heart if you pick Miata.
I know, yeah. I haven't spent a ton of time in the ND Miata, but the time that I have spent in it, I like it, but it's not like a car that I'm like, oh my god. I didn't go on Auto Trader after and look for an ND Miata. I don't know.
Another thing I'll say before you go, I recognize that the BRZ is much more moddable. Like it's a better, you can do more with that car.
Yeah.
Whereas the Miata is a bit of a one-trick pony in that like, you can do some mods, but you're not going to transform it the way that Chris transformed his BRZ and is continuing to transform it and do cool things with it. A Miata is an excellent turnkey car for someone like Chris's mother who owns a Miata and wants that experience. It's like, it's perfect. It's as perfect as it's going to be, pretty much like right from the factory.
Both cars have really good aftermarket support. There's a lot of.
But I feel like you can do more with the BRZ.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go BRZ 86.
All right. I am okay with it just because I like Chris, but
Which one?
You like mine?
I'm just gonna let you guys wonder. Lexus LC500 versus the Kia Forte GT.
Wait, didn't the LC500 win a couple years ago?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it should be the Kia Forte GT.
Oh my gosh. All right, so we're just eliminating some previous winners. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, I'm okay with that.
I do still think the Forte GT though is a legitimate car to
Not
consider.
over the LC500, but we gotta eliminate some previous winners.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay, we've got a round of 16. Let's take a quick. Well, we'll wait one more time to do a recap, and let's hop on over to our next best of 4 category: the best sound, not the best sound system, but the best sound. We have the Jeep Wrangler 392, the Porsche 911 GT3, the Lexus LC500, and the Jaguar F-Type R.
Ooh, this is a good list.
I
Well
forgot
done.
what we picked.
I actually changed our pick
Oh, did you? Okay.
today. Yes, because I decided that the Wrangler 392 deserved
Okay.
to be
Something.
acknowledged.
Yeah, I know it needed something.
Because-
Mostly because you could pull all the panels off and let that thing rip.
Yeah.
Yes. All 4 of these cars sound incredible in their own way, but the Wrangler 392 was the one that I think surprised us the most. You look
Yeah.
at any of the other 3 sports cars and you're like, okay, like the sound fits.
Yeah.
The Wrangler, you're like, what?
I will say the GT3 doesn't sound as good as the previous generation.
Yeah.
The new GT3 doesn't have that insanity in the last 500 RPM.
Mhm.
So I still really, it sounds amazing. But
Yeah.
it wasn't as mind-blowing as I thought it would be.
I'll never forget the first year at Mama when I drove the Wrangler 392 before you guys.
And you're like,
And I just came back and I was like, you guys have to go out in this thing. It's unbelievable. I wasn't expecting it to be as just like undrivable as it
Yes.
is. And that's what we love about it, is that it is silly.
that was really cool.
And that's why I prefer it over the Bronco Raptors, because it's worse.
Best EV. The Ford F-150 Lightning, the Chevy Bolt EV/EUV, the BMW i4, and the Kia EV6. Now, Chris and I talked about this, and we talked about should the Lightning be the best EV. And I think the Lightning is an incredible step for the automotive industry as a whole. But I think as an electric vehicle, it falls short because of its limitations and its cost. And that is why, big surprise after talking today, I ended up picking the Chevy Bolt, and we kind of talked about it as well, kind of for the same reasons that y'all have already heard a little bit talking about the car earlier. If you're going to be buying an EV, you're probably going to want it to be pretty affordable. You're going to want it to kind of maximize range and that sort of thing. And it doesn't have the most range, doesn't have the fast charging. It's not the most fun to drive, and it's hideous, but it makes a lot of sense as a second car, as an electric alternative. Because let's be honest, even if you had something like the i4, which has a great charging network, or the EV6 that can go 300 miles and everything, you're still going to have range anxiety at some point. There's still going to be reasons why you might just be like, I'm just going to buy a gas car. Like, I'm not ready for EV.
Well, I mean, if you start every day with 200 miles in any of these cars, you're not going to use all that range.
unless you're
gonna
like on a
use,
road trip or something.
60 miles, if that.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So at
yeah,
that point,
for
all
normal
EVs are
daily
kind of
driving.
equal, yeah.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about the Bolt is it gets rid of that barrier to entry that a lot of EVs have, that $50,000 plus price tag.
Yeah.
I mean, this is half that.
Yeah.
So
Have
yeah.
one charging while you're driving the other one.
Exactly.
Get two.
That's the solution.
Best manual. The Subaru BRZ and Toyota GR86, the Cadillac CT4 and CT5 V Blackwings, the Ford Bronco, and the 911 GT3.
Did we give this to the? I forgot what we gave this to. It was like
We
the
gave
Cadillac,
this one
right?
to the Cadillac.
Yeah, that's a
yes.
good one.
I do think that the Bronco is probably the coolest car to have a manual in, but I'm thinking like actual, like the car that was just such a satisfying manual experience, and you loved the no lift shift in the Cadillacs.
Yeah,
and
I was addicted to doing no lift shifts.
the Chevy makes some of the best manual shifter action.
Yeah, they do.
I mean,
That's
no
a
one's
manual driving experience I wanted every single day.
Yes.
After driving that.
I mean, the
Yeah.
Broncos manual was terrible. It was just the fact that
No, it wasn't.
It was not very compared to
Chris.
like the Cadillacs.
Well,
It
sure.
was vague and it was a long throw and everything like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was terrible.
Someone
though.
just said Topher's going to give it to the CTR. Yeah, the Civic Type R does have the best manual out of all these, but that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously expect the 911's manual to be good, so it's kind of like, okay, we give this one to the old Blackwing. Let's see, that was sound, EV, and manuals. Okay, how you guys holding up?
Back to the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Ready?
keep it moving.
Keep it moving. All right, before we get booted on out of here. Mazda CX-5, Volvo XC60.
Still sad about the V60, but I
Chris
really
is now
like the
salty.
XC60.
I love both of these, and they're kind of in different classes, I guess.
They're both a little bit too small, I think.
Yeah, you're right. They're both a little on the smaller side.
So
I would go Mazda. I think the Volvo XC60.
I think the Mazda is better for its class because it's one of the cheapest and it's one of the best.
Yeah, and you can have a fully tilted Mazda CX-5 Signature that's almost as nice to be in as an XC60.
Yeah.
The only downside with booting the Volvo is the great plug-in hybrid. I do think that's one of the best plug-in hybrid powertrains, and the excellent sound system.
Mm-hmm. But we're all about.
We all know that the V60 is probably gonna win. So
Chris is so mad. he's ready to go. He's so upset about his Civic not making it. Kia Sportage, Porsche Macan. I would pick the Macan.
Yeah, me too.
And Chris wouldn't have a say
'Cause he hasn't
because he hasn't driven.
Well, I haven't either, so.
Ford Maverick or the Rolls-Royce Corolla. Fun fact, I actually did a comparo between these two cars with their sound systems.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Maybe that's
I'm
what
like,
you were
why
thinking
are-
of.
Why are these compared? Yeah.
all right, the Rolls-Royce Cullinan was super impressive, but I feel like it was held back a little bit because it was an SUV and that it was on a set of very high-performance summer tires.
Yeah, that was a bit
Which
strange.
didn't-
And then I think things could break very easily, which I guess they could with the Bronco as well. I think the Bronco executes its purpose better
Yeah.
than the Lightning because, like you said earlier about it, it's supposed to just be a fun, cool car, and it does that really well. I just think it needs a power retractable top.
Yeah. Yeah, they need like a tin can thing.
Yeah,
Like
you guys are
Jeep.
jamming back here.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds pretty good.
Yeah, Bronco for
Yeah,
sure.
Bronco.
Okay.
All right.
If you want a power retractable top, Jeep will sell you one for $8,000.
Still worth it. BMW i4 versus Chevy Bolt. I'm gonna stop simping for the Bolt. Do you guys have any?
I would pick the i4.
You'd pick the i4.
Yeah, I really like the i4.
Yeah, the i4 is pretty desirable. I think BMW needs to do some more work on that. It needs more refinement, but kind of, yeah. I wish it were just a little bit better, but
I think you're the tiebreaker, Chris.
it's
What did I vote for?
You voted for the i4.
And so did you.
No.
You said
I said I'm
gonna
gonna stop
simping for the Bolt.
Right, as in I'm gonna stop pushing,
Oh,
but
see,
I would
okay.
pick the Bolt.
You still pick the Bolt. Okay.
don't get me wrong. I really like the i4. Remember, I was considering about you can get it green exterior with red interior.
Christmas spec.
Yeah.
Elf spec.
And I think the i4 is one of the best electric vehicles that I've driven and on the market. So if you end up picking i4, I'm okay with that. Is kind of what I mean. I am kind of with you, Chris, that it feels like a first rounder.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Bolt, you're like, yeah, this feels kind of stale, but it also feels like they've been doing this for what, 6 years now, which they have.
Yeah.
Bolt's been around since 2017.
Didn't catch on fire, and then it did catch on fire, and then now it doesn't catch on
That's
fire.
true. The i4 doesn't
so
catch on fire.
They've gone through that. Well, it hasn't caught on fire yet.
That's true. It'll get there.
Yeah.
Although there was a news article I saw today that the Chevy Bolt is under recall again
For catching on fire?
for the floor mats catching on fire.
What?
The carpets.
How do because they get too hot?
I don't know.
They must like get hot because the battery's under the floor, right? So they get hot. I think that's a win for the i4 then, because the i4 doesn't catch on fire yet.
Yeah, let's advance the i4. I mean, it is a new vehicle.
Sorry, Chevy, I tried.
Yep.
Volvo 3 Series versus BMW 3 Series versus Volvo V60.
Wow, Freudian slip there.
I know he's.
Biased.
Chris?
Chris, you're supposed to love Volvos.
Yeah.
I do love Volvos.
You
but
grew up in
I was
Volvos.
just
Yeah.
like
Your
the-
channel
the
has a
V6
Volvo on the top of it.
I just drove the V60 like all week last week, and it was fine, but it wasn't like I preferred the XC60. Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I felt it was a little bit heavy. The handling was kind of meh. It is cool to have the wagon, but I don't know. There were some things that I wished Volvo did differently, and I feel like it's still like a 90% car instead of like a 95% car. Whereas the 3 Series, this is the best 3 Series ever. Like this 2022 model year is just, the engines are amazing. It's a good car. So
Chris?
also the 3 Series Grand Coupe was really good too.
And you can get a plug-in
You mean
hybrid.
the 4 Series?
Oh yeah, the Force.
4 Series Grand Coupe. There's no 3 Series Grand Coupe. It'd be a 4 Series
That's right.
or a 3
That'd be
Series
big.
Grand Touring, but I don't know that they make that anymore.
Version of
That's what you're thinking of, is the
That's
Grand
right.
Touring.
You're thinking of the 4-door version of the 2-door version of the 4-door.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I agree. I love the 2022 3 Series, and if that's what this is based off of, then sure. I think for 2023 it got worse.
Because then it's gonna be 3 Series versus i4.
Head to head.
Which,
But
are those the same car? They could be, because the i4 is
They could be combined in theory.
Well, no, because the i4
Is a 4
based off of
Series.
a 4 Series Grand
But
Coupe.
you could also argue that the 4 Series and the 3 Series are the same car. But no, we're keeping them separate for now.
My brain hurts.
I just love the V60 so much.
I'm going 3 Series.
Darn you guys. The V60 starts at $50,000. And the 3 Series starts at nearly $50,000.
How much extra do you have to pay to get the Bowers and Wilkins? It's like $5,000,
Like
$4,500.
6, because you have to pay $3,000 to get the system, but that has to be on top of the ultimate trim, which is like another few
So
thousand.
you really gotta pay like almost $60,000 if you want to get the good sound system.
Right, but you have to realize, like, you're getting a luxury car at that point. He didn't like a nice, proper place. It feels just as nice to be in there, and as it does in any luxury vehicle, probably a 5 Series BMW. And I think it looks so good. You can get so many cool colors, and you can get the Polestar version that looks sweet. Olin shocks.
It is cool.
You
yeah.
can get the
The Olins are too stiff, but that's okay.
You can dial them back.
Nah, even that, it's too stiff.
I do really like the 3 Series because you can get the B58, which we all love.
And 340,
You can get the
yeah.
4-cylinder. You can get the plug-in hybrid 4-cylinder. You can get the M3.
M3
You can get a
comp
manual
was
in it.
good, and you can get an all-wheel drive.
Also, that 4-cylinder is the best 4-cylinder on the market.
But then I go back to the fact that you drove a 3 Series to Chicago and back, and you were like, you almost had more to say about the CX-30 you drove to Chicago and back.
Yeah, it was just kind of whatever. But
Yeah.
it got great gas mileage. I think it got like 38 or 40, something around there.
I think because of your trip, I'm gonna pick the Volvo.
Okay.
Because I know you
Well,
would have
you-
loved to do that trip.
Oh,
with the
yeah,
Volvo.
but-
You'd still be talking
Well,
about
and
it.
you also shared half of that trip with me in the
Oh, you're right.
3 Series.
Yeah,
so
see,
like,
3 Series is really good. It is really, really good.
and then you drove back in my M Roadster, and you very much enjoyed
and I
yourself.
loved that.
So if you guys don't want to stay till the end, just know that the Volvo V60 is going to be the best car of the year.
My God. 911 GT3 versus Hyundai Kona N.
Hardest
Wow.
decision of the night.
Well, let's talk about it.
I went on Auto Trader looking for Kona N's
So did I, actually.
after driving that thing, and GT3s.
I've looked at GT3s. I mean,
looked
not
at-
the new
I
one,
looked at
but
the
like
prices of them, and I was like, no.
Yeah, they're pretty unobtainable.
No.
They're all like 50,000 over sticker,
Yeah.
used.
I know, but let's take
They're
that out of the
Kona N's.
equation.
They're like 2 Kona N's over sticker.
Every
Yeah, they're all
time,
at
every
MSRP.
time you like, we joke about some like our channel's going through the roof or whatever. It's always like, and then I can buy a GT3. Like it is
That's
the
true, actually.
design.
Yeah,
like,
but it'd be like a 9972.
I was gonna say it wouldn't be the 992. It'd be a 997.2 manual. Well,
Yeah.
those are all manual.
all right, is this where the 911 loses it?
I think so.
Subaru BRZ versus Kia Forte GT. I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Chris,
I'm
before Chris
surprised the
leaves.
Volvo V60 didn't show up in that just randomly.
We have our Elite 8, and I should at least point out that making it to the top 8, I mean, we drive a lot of cars. We drive over 100 cars each year. These are all very, very, very good cars.
Yeah.
We see some returners. We see Porsche being back up in here. We see the Mazda CX-5. BMW's been here before. We got a Ford battle brewing.
I don't know that any Volvos made it last year. Maybe the XC60 did.
The XC60's made it
Made
pretty,
it pretty
far,
far, yeah.
in the past. We got our last round of these, whatever we want to call them.
Intermissions.
Yes. Biggest surprise. Kia Forte GT, Hyundai Kona N, BMW i4, Land Rover Defender V8. We've talked about all of these cars, and the winner is the Hyundai Kona N. I put it as the winner of biggest surprise because we all kind of knew it existed, and I had actually driven it. I had driven the prototype before and everything.
Yeah.
But it was how well this car worked in the real world that we loved it so much. Chris and I were talking about how we have the Nero right now, and you drove that on a press launch, and you were like, oh, this feels very different in the real world. You're noticing things you hadn't before, and you're kind of like, honeymoon's sort of over. It was the opposite for the Kona N. None of us wanted to get out of that car.
Thing about that is it gave you like little thrills on a completely normal drive
Yeah.
that were just so enjoyable. Like,
Major fizz.
so much fizz.
Huge fizz.
And such a usable package.
Yeah. Want to buy Ford Maverick, Ford Bronco 7-speed manual, Subaru BRZ, and Hyundai Kona N.
Well, you have each bought one of these.
That's kind
So
of the
this
point.
is what I'd buy then, right?
Well, partially.
Well, let's see.
The Bronco 7-speed manual.
Okay.
And I ended up picking that because of Chris's and my conversation the other day of kind of how I said earlier. If you weren't getting the press cars and he actually just had to have a regular car that he drove to a job and then picked up his
100%.
kids from school and
100%.
everything like that, it wouldn't be the Subaru BRZ or maybe you'd get a Civic, but probably not. It'd be the 7-speed Bronco.
Because it does it all,
Yeah.
except for NVH, but that's okay.
You don't need that with a car like that.
Turn up the B&O.
Yep.
Exactly.
And then our favorite category, the most desirable car.
Oh.
Mm.
This is the
They're all desirable.
This is the if money were no object.
Oh, it's got to be the GT3 then.
Yeah, no big surprise here. There were other categories that I had to have the GT3 not win just because we knew, most desirable car. My gosh.
Yeah.
It's the epitome of driving.
It's the dream car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
It totally is.
Yep.
This is sex on wheels. It's the wet dream of a driver's enthusiast, which we all are. And it was amazing. I remember taking it from your house, Chris, and
Such a special week.
driving the same road, Pontiac Trail that we do back and forth, Plymouth Ann Arbor Road. And it was like, even just that normal 55 mile an hour road was heaven. Just shifting up, shifting down, shifting up, shifting down, turning, just everything.
9,000.
Play that like an instrument.
Mm-hmm. Whew. Okay,
Elite 8. Here we go.
let's do it. Mazda CX-5 versus Porsche Macan.
I would like to see the Macan advance.
Yeah,
I
same.
think it deserves it.
I kind of wish I had had the Macan versus the V60 earlier because I would let the V60 lose against the Macan.
You know what's funny though? I've always thought the Mazda CX-5 is the budget Macan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the budget X3.
Yeah, because
especially
it's
like
the
a
best
signature
driving in
with
that
the turbo.
class, and it's a little small, but like it's kind of worth it because it's nice to drive. I think a lot of the arguments that Chris makes against the V60 can be made against the Macan. That it's kind of it's like, is it really that good? Like you and I are like, oh, the V60 is amazing, and you're like, is it though? I feel like that can be made against the Macan because it's not as luxurious inside as a lot of its competitors.
We
And
didn't
it's
drive
not
the
as
GTS
practical.
too. We were supposed to get into a GTS and we never did.
Yeah.
Also,
So I'm curious what
the
happened.
car that we got had no options. It had none.
Yeah, and it still costs like what, $60,000-$70,000?
60, 65 or something. Yeah.
Right. But I'm fine with picking Macan. You guys want to go that?
Yeah.
All right. Porsche Macan. Ford Maverick versus Ford Bronco.
I mean, it's got to be the Bronco. It's such a favorite throughout the day. It's so desirable. I know you bought a Maverick, but would we all buy a Bronco? Like,
Yes.
In agreement, like you wouldn't buy a Bronco,
I'd be tempted to get the 7-speed manual Bronco, but I'd buy the Jeep.
but you
The
bought
Jeep?
a Maverick.
What
Oh, you
Jeep?
get the Jeep?
I'd buy a
The
Wrangler over a
392?
Wrangler. I'd buy just any. I'd have a 4xe.
Oh God.
But
Really?
Oof.
I've always been mostly because of the power roof. Because you can't actually take the top off the Bronco because it's too much of a pain in the butt. Remember
the-
when you and I took the top off the
The
Bronco?
soft
and
top comes off. He's very.
Yeah, you just have a soft top.
What do you
Yeah,
do? Just
soft
push it back?
And then you don't have
push
to
it up and
inhale
back.
the
no,
dust
you just,
from the hard
yeah,
top.
it's just super easy. It
Okay,
just takes
so
like
that- well,
8
that's-
seconds.
I just never
Yeah.
have been. I like the Bronco from an objective standpoint. Just my heart is just never really done it for me. The manual helps, but that's the only Bronco I'd have.
I mean, I've got to vote Bronco.
Bronco.
It's so good.
Okay, I'll let the Maverick go. I've been outvoted, but I will point out. I think if anyone could go out and buy a Maverick for just MSRP right now, it'd be a different conversation. I think you'd see in every driveway around Metro Detroit would be a Maverick, because having a pickup truck as a homeowner is huge. There's so
true.
much that we did with our crossover that now doing with the pickup truck is so much easier. Perfect example, earlier this summer, bad windstorm. Big branch falls down, like it's significant, the type that you gotta like break down and everything. And it's a good amount of like significant tree branch. Threw it in the back of our truck, took it away. You know, you can't do that in so many other cars. And the Maverick, 30 miles per gallon with a bed and $30,000 less. Okay. Stupid Bronco.
Bronco, you could just drive over the tree branch
Yeah, that's
You
true.
just never
drag
clean
it behind you.
until it's
Grind
crushed
it
into a
into-
pulp.
Yeah.
Just do a burnout on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
BMW i4 versus Volvo V60. I'd be fine with either of these making it. I love the i4. I think it's a great electric vehicle, and the fact that all the other EVs are gone, I think the i4 should make it, because as much as my heart sings for the Volvo V60,
Yeah.
I will point out that Volvo's got its shortcomings. And
If you want to have an EV in the final four, I think the i4 is the most deserving for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I like about the i4 is that it's just a good car that happens to be electric.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
That is a really good way to put
BMW
it.
is great at doing that.
And you know what? Everything I like about the Volvo, the BMW also does outside of the practicality aspect. So if I could have an i4 and my significant other could be driving a more utility type vehicle,
Mhm.
i4.
That's okay.
All day.
Yeah. Goodbye, V60.
We love you.
We love you very much.
The only
Chris
thing I
doesn't.
will say about the V60 as we say goodbye to it is that it's so much cooler than an SUV.
It is.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you, and
does-
you're the one
it
saying you'd
does
rather have the
all the
XC60.
things that an SUV does, but it's so much cooler.
Think of it this way. When you're driving down the street through Plymouth and an XC60 goes by, your head doesn't even so much as swivel. If you see a Volvo V60 go by, you're like, oh, good on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're like,
Yeah.
hats off to you, good person. Kona N versus BRZ. I'm picking the Kona N.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna go BRZ just because I think
Because you own one.
well, there's a desirability factor and like an iconic factor too. I think the BRZ is a bit more of an icon.
But see, I'm the
And
opposite.
the-
I'd rather have the car that nobody has.
Yeah, I don't know. They can do nice drifts in both. It's a hard
Okay, you've
one.
already been outvoted.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fine.
You took my Maverick. I'll take your Subaru.
There we go. No bias left now.
Yep.
I don't think there's any bias with these four cars.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with the Daily Motor Final Four is these are
It's so random.
all four cars that we would genuinely own.
Yeah, they are.
And I know
All
I
of them.
said I'd rather have a Wrangler than a
Well,
Bronco.
Chris wouldn't own the i4.
I'd have the Bronco and the Kona N for sure.
Chris
Yeah.
would have the i4. He said it's one of the best EVs he's
Well,
ever had.
No, I said
or
that.
driven.
I said that. Not him.
Oh, it's the iX was one of the best
Yeah,
EVs you've ever.
But it looks like a bucktooth Bavarian beaver.
Chris doesn't like the i4 because you can't drive it at 11/10.
It's like front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, front wheel drive. He doesn't know what drive it is.
Well, we got to get you a rear-wheel drive i4 then, and
Yeah.
then
Oh, yeah,
it
true.
only has one option.
That's right.
Yeah.
Does it drift?
Did it drift? Probably.
No.
No?
No.
Nah.
Ah, too heavy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Porsche Macan or Ford Bronco? So let's think. First things first. How are they to drive? Porsche Macan's excellent.
Bronco's a lot of fun.
Bronco's a lot of fun, but
But it's
also
loud.
awful on the highway. And it doesn't matter how you spec it.
But there's also the Bronco Raptor, which is a little bit better on the highway than the standard Bronco because it has a little bit more stiffness, a bit more insulation,
A little bit better built.
better built. Yep.
Okay, how would they be to own? Porsche, you get to go to Porsche dealers, so that's nice.
Bronco, you could just go anywhere.
Porsche, it'd be nice to be inside. It's gonna be probably pretty reliable. Porsche is one of the more reliable German brands.
It's true. But it's just
And-
another crossover.
Yeah, that's true. But the Bronco, you have to be seen as someone who has a Bronco, and that's not always a good thing. But you can get a lot of cool colors. You can get both yellow and green on a Bronco.
Yeah, but you can have whatever you want on a Macan. Paid to sample.
Yeah, you can get Miami blue.
Yeah. Miami Blue's not even paid to sample. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
a
just a
standard
car.
color. Yeah.
I don't know. I think we have to advance the Bronco just because
Mm-mm.
the Raptor. I mean, we had a lot of fun in the Raptor.
I shouldn't have even let the Bronco go as far as it has. I shouldn't have even put it on here. You guys are talking me out of the Bronco.
Yeah.
Chris, you're the tiebreaker on this one.
I'm gonna.
I don't know if the Porsche Macan is good enough to go
Be in the
head-to-head
final
in
two.
the final two.
Especially because it's not new this year or
No,
anything.
it's
Well,
very
neither is the
old.
Bronco. The Bronco was new 2
Bronco
model
Raptor's
years ago.
new.
That's true.
Yeah, why
Well,
is the Bronco in here? Is it because of
the Raptor? The
or
Bronco
did,
Raptor.
Did it not make it into last year's because we didn't drive it until like just after the?
Oh, that's possible too.
yeah. I think that's what it was.
I like both cars, so I'm fine with either.
You
Uh,
didn't really drive much in the Raptor, in the Bronco Raptor.
Not really.
That thing
I drove it for like
was
2 days.
so much fun.
Yeah, I liked it, but I don't know. I still prefer just in my mind right now, the car that I'm thinking about is the 7-speed manual
Mhm.
Bronco Badlands.
No, I think I would probably take a manual Badlands over a Raptor.
Yeah,
just
I didn't
because
love
that
the
manual
Raptor,
driving
but
experience was so good.
I didn't drive it.
That
off-road.
was like sports car levels of fun.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
an SUV, in ways that I've never experienced before. More so than the Macan. Macan is just a really, really good crossover.
Okay.
But the Bronco, I think, is something special that we haven't seen in a long time. Like when Ford stopped making their Fiesta ST, their Focus ST, all the cars that we loved, and
That just makes me more upset with the Bronco
though,
then.
is their
'cause it's-
first product that's come out that's made me think, oh, okay, Ford still has something for the enthusiast besides the Mustang.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That yeah. I was very upset with Ford when they killed all
I
the
know.
STs.
Such a bummer.
Yeah,
all the little STs.
the little STs. Yeah.
I think the only thing that's getting me is Chris's argument that the Bronco is kind of, or what did you say?
More of an enthusiast vehicle than the Macan.
No, just that it's maybe it was my argument that the Macan's not even that new at this point, and I think there's a lot of people that are like, I think the Macan's overrated,
Yeah.
but they probably haven't driven one then. Because if you drive a Macan, it's so good.
Yeah,
Maybe if
it
we
was a
would have
lot of
gotten
fun
the
on the back
GTS,
road.
that we would have feel differently too.
That's true, but they didn't give us a
Gonna
GTS.
Holding it over Ford. Fine. All right.
Bronco.
Bronco.
Yeah, that's
Chris?
fine. That's fine.
Bronco Kona N. Bronco Kona N.
Yeah, that's probably what it's
I
gonna
mean,
be.
yeah, I
'cause
love
I'm
the
gonna go
i4, but I
Kona
gotta pick
N.
Kona N.
Yeah, me too.
See, this is a win-win now.
The two best cars that Chris, and I drove in 2022 are the Ford Bronco and the Hyundai Kona N.
That's actually pretty darn accurate, I think.
That is, yeah.
And this, I know I say this each year, but this is why I love so much this way of doing it, because someone asked me yesterday, what car do you think is going to win? And I didn't really have a great answer, but I'm like, well, V60 is going to be up there.
If you
know,
would have
this
asked
and
me an
that.
hour ago, I would have said V60.
But I mean, these are two really, really good cars.
And they're very good from the factory. They don't need anything else to
True.
do
Yeah.
their purpose better.
Yeah. I think the smart answer is the Bronco, because so many different configurations, different colors, you know, the heritage, all this and that, whatever. But
We'd all go out and buy either one of these.
Yeah.
but I'd buy the Kona N first. And I think the Kona N is more accessible to most people. I think the Bronco's more usable.
To me, the Kona seems a very, very niche product.
It is. That's the N stands for. It's
And-
niche.
Yeah, and also it's competing with the Elantra N. And I don't know, is the Kona N available as available as the Elantra?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Broncos won so many other awards.
My heart is with the Kona N, just because of what I said earlier. With it's the one of the only cars that we had. It was the car that I mostly wanted to go out and drive. You could argue the GT3,
Mhm.
but I was so petrified going out in the GT3 that, oh, what if a rabbit runs out and I crack the splitter? Or, you know, what if someone dings me in a parking lot? The Kona N, sure, obviously, I still value the safety of the car and everything, but I was so eager always to go out and drive the Kona N, and for that, it's just like,
The other great thing about the Kona N is you can drive it calmly. Like,
yeah,
it's
you can
decently
just
quiet
use it as a car.
on the
And
highway.
in my highway fuel economy test, I got like 32 or 34 mpg
Yeah.
or something insanely. Like, it was very efficient.
The Bronco,
But think of the children.
yeah, children are a thing. Did
Oh,
you try?
shoot,
Did you end up
yeah.
putting car seats in the Kona?
No, he means the
All the children.
I'd pick Kona.
yeah.
I really would. I think the Bronco's awesome. I think it's cool it made it here, and all the arguments have been great about it.
I will say, sorry to interrupt,
Mhm.
but this is a tiebreaker. I think the Bronco could use some improvement, and the Kona N, there's nothing I would improve about that car.
No.
Except for
me either.
maybe make the manual available. But
Yeah.
Or also change some very minor styling things. But as far as the way that the
Mhm.
car drives, it's perfect. It's
Wow.
just such a thing.
the only reason I don't love giving it to the Kona is, like you said, it's pretty niche, but I feel like
That's okay though.
It-
This is our award.
the
Our
Kona
award.
N best embodies what all three of us like about cars.
Yes.
Is that fair? All right, are we back?
At the last minute.
Okay, we're back, and we didn't say anything useful. We saw the disconnect, and we waited. Another thing with the Kona, and I think this is a big thing for me. There's so many people that, like, Broncos are just gonna be all over the place, kind of like Jeep Wranglers. You
Well,
don't
they
even
are
really
here in Detroit. You go anywhere else, they're pretty rare.
really.
Yeah.
But don't you think that's just kind of supply? Don't you think they're kind of making their way out? and
No, it's
about?
all the Ford A-Plan people here.
Really?
Detroit. Yeah, everyone works for Ford. I will say the Bronco is such a usable vehicle, and it has such a wide consumer base, from enthusiasts to regular just people who just want something a little bit cooler.
Mm-hmm.
It, I think, drives so much better than the competition on the road. It's
Wrangler.
more refined and just better road manners. It's fun.
I think there are too many people
So
who are going to buy a
configurable.
Bronco that are never going to use it for anything remotely close that it's capable of, and would be so much better served by just getting something that actually is decent. I hated driving the Bronco on the streets. I did.
Really.
Yeah, because it rode like crap. It was loud. It wandered all over the place, and I'm only willing to, like, put up with that, kind of as you said when we had the manual, as a second car. Like, I wouldn't.
Kona's stiff too, but I guess it's not too
It's
stiff.
no. It's, it's
you
much
can
more
calm it
livable.
down also in comfort
Yeah.
mode.
Yep.
What would you
This
have?
is kind of a win-win.
I would
Yeah.
Either way.
I would pick the Hyundai Kona N.
I would pick the Hyundai Kona N as well.
Chris.
I'm good with the Kona N.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2022 Daily Motor Car of the Year, the Hyundai Kona N.
Great enthusiast product.
Really
Yeah.
is, yeah.
It's not what I expected, but I think very well deserved.
It's what we needed.
Yeah, and we do need to spread the word about cars like this, because if we don't, they'll die.
They already killed the Veloster. They better not kill the
They're
Kona
coming.
next.
Yeah.
They're coming for the Kona. I will say the new Kona was released 2 nights ago, and there hasn't been any word about an N yet.
Yeah, but they
it could be a.
yeah.
They'll probably.
Yeah.
But
there's an N line,
right.
which gives some hope, that there will be a full N.
This is our first non-Japanese winner, because we
Okay.
had Lexus and then we had Honda.
Yep.
Oh.
Congratulations to Ford, Porsche, and BMW for making it into the Final Four. That is no easy feat. Those are all great cars, and even the 8, the Mazda CX-5, Porsche Macan, Ford Maverick, Ford Bronco, Hyundai Kona N, Subaru BRZ, BMW i4, and Volvo V60, all excellent cars. But Hyundai Kona N is the more we talk about it,
yeah.
I'm like, I feel like
I properly love that car, so I'm glad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that for sure.
I think if we didn't have the press cars, that might be what I would own. Maybe we'd have like a Maverick and a Kona.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was begging you to ask Hyundai if we could have one as long-term. In fact, I was on a Hyundai trip and we were at dinner, and I asked if we could have a long-term Kona N twice at both different Hyundai events.
Yeah.
Half joking, half not joking, but
Yeah.
I was told no both times. So
Cool. Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this. We enjoyed breaking it down for you and having some fun while doing it. We always love talking cars. It's no difficulty for us to burn 2 hours doing that.
This has been a great annual thing.
Yeah.
Too. Like I
Yeah.
can't believe it's been a year since we did this last
I know,
time
it's
here.
wild.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
Sum things up.
I want to take a look at the comments. My little chat box is unable to connect to chat, so I'm gonna have to bring it up here.
I have not been reading comments.
Thanks for watching and tuning in, everyone. Appreciate you guys coming out.
It's not. Oh, I guess I could refresh this, couldn't I?
Broncos are everywhere in Central Ohio. I believe that.
Yeah. Central Ohio is just like Michigan Light.
Charlie, William would like to know what you mean by, quote, being seen as someone who owns a Bronco.
Because
William, I agree. What do you mean, Charlie?
I feel like there are a lot of people who, again, kind of buy a Bronco more for the image rather than because they're actually going to go out and do off-roading with their
Sure.
Broncos. A poser, if you will.
A poser, yeah.
I would also argue that people who bought Broncos, maybe who have never done off-roading before, will be encouraged to do some of it because it can. And
That's it.
they'll take it beyond its limits, beyond their limits. They'll adventure with it a little bit.
It's a positive way of looking at humanity.
It could convert some enthusiasts, who knows?
Yeah. We had a pretty solid 50 viewers this whole time. That's awesome. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate you hanging out. I wonder if Samari is still in. He commented briefly about the Integra. So I don't know.
Oh, Samari?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, everyone. I'll probably chop this up at some point and put it into a little highlight reel, and we'll have to let Lori Schultz know that Hyundai Kona N is winner because she's retiring here very soon. What about GR Corolla? We have not all driven it. Only Chris has.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
we only consider cars that we've either at least all driven or could like make a conjecture enough about. Like the Sportage, for example. Like
Yeah.
we kind of know. Like I can speak on its behalf. Although I'm disappointed that an FCA car didn't win. All jokes aside, FCA, that's kind of on you, or Stellantis, because they haven't really been giving us much to drive.
We had a Grand Cherokee and a Hellcat.
Charger.
That was it.
The 392 won something.
Mhm.
The best sounding exhaust.
Yeah, and we liked the Grand Cherokees.
You have a good night as well, Thimios.
Joshua John, I hope you didn't just tune in, but we're done. So
Oh, no.
you'll have to watch the recap. Thanks, everyone. We're going to get out of here before we get yelled at for going over our time.
Oh, we're only here till 9?
Yeah, it was my fault. We are Chris, and Charlie with Daily Motor, The Topher, and Topher Drives. And as always, Hyundai Kona N on.
See you guys.